Ladies and gentlemen, what the evidence in this case is going to show you is that this defendant zipped Jorge Torres shut in a suitcase. She was able to do this because at the time of his death, he only weighed 103 pounds. And she did this with the malicious intent to punish him. And then she went up to sleep and left him to take his final breaths on this earth alone. How many breaths those were, we don't know. The evidence is going to show that it was at least for about 15 minutes, because there's going to be 2 videos that the defendant herself took of this event. The evidence is going to show Jorge Torres is dead because in this defendant's judgment, he deserved it. And out of a conscious disregard for whether he lived or died, you will see and hear these videos. What I expect you will hear from a video that began at 11:12 p.m., 45 seconds, on February 23rd, 2020, in Orange County, Florida, is a suitcase on the ground, face down, with the zippers facing the floor. You will hear Sarah. The defendant will say, "For everything you've done to me." Sarah, "For everything you've done to me." Sarah, "Fuck you." And then the defendant laughs. Sarah, "Fuck you." And the defendant laughs. Sarah, "Stupid." Sarah, "That's my name. Don't wear it out." Sarah, "I can't fucking breathe, baby. Seriously." "Yeah, that's what you do when you choke me." Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. The defendant laughs again. Sarah, "I can't breathe, babe." She laughs again. "That's on you." Sarah, "I can't breathe." She laughs again. Unintelligible words. And I would submit the evidence is going to show, because of the intoxication from alcohol, is the next thing she says. Sarah, 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 "I can't breathe, baby." "That's what I feel like when you cheat on me." Sarah, "Fuck you." "I can't fucking breathe, Sarah." "You should probably shut the fuck up." Sarah, "Shh," is the last thing you will hear the defendant say to Mr. Torres as he is face down, zipped shut in a suitcase. That, again, began at 11:12:45 and lasts just over 2 minutes. At 11:23 and 3 seconds p.m., there's a second 22-second video, and it's the defendant zooming in on the suitcase. And all you hear during this 22 seconds, after he's been in this suitcase since at least 11:12 p.m., is one more time, Sarah. How did we get to this point where 103-pound Jorge Torres gets put into this suitcase left to die? Well, the next morning, the defendant wakes up, late morning, perhaps early afternoon, somewhere in this time range, several hours later. And she goes downstairs, and she doesn't see George anywhere, Torres, and eventually realizes, oh my God, he's in the suitcase. The first thing she does after taking him out, and I believe you will hear a description by the defendant saying, he took his little legs out. At some point she makes that statement. And tries to resuscitate him. Here's gurgling as she presses down on his 103-pound chest, forcing whatever air was trapped in there out, gurgling. Then the next thing she does is she doesn't call 911. She calls Brian Boone. Who's Brian Boone? Well, Brian Boone is her ex-husband. They share a child in common. And this date, February 24th, 2020, is a Monday. A normal work day for most people. School day for their child that they share in common. But after they got divorced, the arrangement was every other weekend, they would co-parent. And that weekend included Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's that free schedule. And then Mondays and Tuesdays, their child would be her responsibility. And Wednesdays and Thursdays, their child would be Mr. Brian Boone's responsibility. So February 23rd, 2020 was a Sunday. And now we've led into Monday, February 24th. Mr. Boone had been trying actually to contact the defendant several times that morning because he just wanted to confirm she was going to get their child after school that day. And there had been a history of reliability issues on that issue on her part. So you will see in the phone record, he calls her. Then she finally calls him back instead of calling 911. And being the nice co-parent that he is, he comes over. It's a short drive, about 10 minutes. And as she's explaining to him what the heck is going on, he peeks in through the front door of her townhouse, which allows you a view all the way to the back sliding glass door. You're going to see that her kitchen is off to the right, but there's a doorway that you can see all the way through. And on the back side of the kitchen and the breakfast room area, there's tables and stuff. There's also some blue legs sticking out in view. Brian Boone says, "Check, please. You need to call 911. He doesn't set foot into that townhouse. He does wait outside, though, being the good co-parent that he has been. So now, after having first called her ex-husband, after having first waited for Brian Boone to come over, the defendant makes the 911 call. What you will not hear are tears. What you will not hear is sorrow. You will hear a certain level of concern. My boyfriend and I were playing last night. Put him in a suitcase, and we were playing hide and seek kind of thing. I fell asleep. Found him dead in the suitcase this morning. I don't know what happened. He had blood coming out of his mouth. Don't know if it was an aneurysm. Pulled him out of the suitcase, tried to give him CPR. He was in the suitcase and I fell asleep. He's not awake, he's purple, he's not breathing. There's some instructions about how to do CPR given to her, asking about whether an AED is available to shock his heart. It's too late. He's cold, he's stiff, he's purple. We were playing hide and seek. This is horrible. This is horrific what happened. Like, what happened? We were playing hide and seek last night and I fell asleep. So she mentions that there was blood coming out of his mouth. And his body, like all bodies in suspicious deaths, was taken to the 9th District Medical Examiner's office in autopsy. What the doctor found was what you would expect after being left in a suitcase, probably in the fetal position. He passed from positional asphyxiation, meaning like you're not going to get full breaths when you're crumpled up like an accordion, and environmental suffocation. You don't have to have a plastic bag over your head, tape shut with a full roll of duct tape to seal it off 100% and be worthy of the vacuum of space to environmentally suffocate. It's close enough if you can't get the oxygen and the CO2 coming in and out of your environment. But she also did notice, he suffered from blunt force trauma on his torso, in his face, his mouth. She'll use words like contusion, will help her explain contusions and bruises. She'll use words like hematomas, will help her understand for you all that that means bleeding under the skin and blood, what you expect from a bruise, that's why they're running through. But he had all this additional trauma, and he had trauma on his fingers as well. So now, the sheriff's office, Orange County Fire Rescue show up, and the defendant interacts with the first patrol officer. You will see and hear that body worn camera. It's more of the same of what we heard on the 911 call. It was like hide and seek. It was good. I fell asleep. I don't know what happened. A few hours later, the detectives from the homicide unit of the Orange County Sheriff's Office approach her and are ready to interview her after doing some initial things, which includes grabbing her cell phone off of a counter that was found at a suitcase by Mr. Torres, and giving it to one of their digital forensic examiners, who we'll hear from later in the trial, no one. But it's time to give a first interview with the defendant. So they do a first interview with the defendant in one of their unmarked detective patrol cars there on the scene. And the basics of this remain the same, but there's a little more elaboration, as you would expect from trained detectives versus getting the 911 call taken. But the basics of what the defendant tells them is we had wine, we painted, we drew, we did puzzles. The particular wine we had was a Chardonnay from the Woodbridge winery. The bottles, plural, are in the trash. We started about 4 p.m. after Mr. Torres went to the store. Puzzles, art, listening to music, enjoying each other's company. We were literally just enjoying one another's company. The other bottle of wine that was left over from Boer wasn't even half full. So the description she is saying is 1 bottle of wine and plus a fraction of a bottle of wine left over from the night before. Ladies and gentlemen, not all bottles of wine are made the same. Many of us may envision what you would expect at a restaurant. Those are 750s, 750 milliliters of that. Bottles of wine that were recovered from the defendant's trash can were 1.5 liters, so the equivalent of 2 standard bottles of wine. A 1.5 liter bottle of wine is 50 ounces. Given that a standard serving of wine is 5 ounces, you can begin to do the math. And there's receipts. The day before, Saturday, February 22nd, 2020, there is a receipt from Publix for a bottle of Woodbridge wine for $9.74. And then Sunday at 12:17 p.m., there is another receipt for $9.74 for a Woodbridge Chardonnay bottle of wine. And then at about 5:30 in the afternoon on February 23rd, again, there is another receipt for the same bottle of wine for the same price. And those 2 bottles of wine were recovered. They're going to be produced to you in evidence, and you will see that they are in fact Magnum bottles of wine. So that's the context that we're dealing with when we hear things like, we only had 1 bottle of wine and we finished what was left in the bottle of wine from before. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's 2 1.5 liters that apparently were consumed by a 103-pound man and the defendant, who is in the same weight class. Plus, if you believe that the defendant and the decedent would leave leftover wine from any given day, any additional wine that was remaining from the 1.5 liters from Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a lot of wine. So in that context, we were just having wine, enjoying each other's company. At one point, we play hide and seek. She says she didn't zip it up all the way. There was enough room, in her words again, there was enough room for his little fingers to get out. We were still having a good time and whatever. And basically,
Mr. Torres is stressing out about jobs, his ex-wife, about money. And so they're just doing puzzles and doing things to keep his mind off of it. Doing art, playing with the dogs, dancing with the dogs, playing hide and seek. We were always trying to outdo each other where we could find each other the best. When they started playing hide and seek, she went up to the shower and then got tired of hanging out in the shower and came down, and that's when she found him playing around in the suitcase. We both thought it was funny. I'm gonna zip you up. 2 little fingers could stick out. And she went upstairs thinking, he'll get out, we're gonna have sex and go to sleep and call it a day. It was a good day. She insists that they had wine, but we're not drunk. You will be able to assess that for yourselves when you hear the recording she made. No ill will between us last night. Last argument, maybe last week. Don't really argue. We came home, drink, smoke, did art, listen to music, play with the dogs. We drink what we can afford. We used to be able to afford liquor, but now we can only afford wine. And that's how that day ends with the police. She goes and sleeps and stays at her ex-husband's house the night of February 24th and 25th. What they are doing, and by they I mean the Orange County Sheriff's Office, in part, is going through her phone. That's when they discovered the 2 videos that I just described for you. And there's other things in the phone, which I will discuss with you in a little bit. But she's summoned in for another interview, and she sits down and gives another interview on February 25th, now Tuesday. She does describe past instances of violence. You're going to hear about that. She's going to say, Mr. Torres had hit her with a curtain rod about a month ago. Since then, though, like, we've been good. I've been good. She describes that he comes at her all the time. He comes at me. So it's either I flee or I try to go upstairs and go to sleep. That's usually what it is. I don't know if you talk to Brian, her husband, about any of that, but most of the time I flee and I go over there. There's a discussion about why she stays with him, and you'll hear that for yourself. She will say that she doesn't really want to drink. She just takes an occasional drink. She drinks to placate him, Mr. Torres. She says that you're going to see phone videos of Mr. Torres smashing her TV in the past, like a month earlier. You may see that too. But she doesn't get drunk. When she drinks, she likes being non-compos mentis, her words, not mine, having her wits about herself. Then she gets to the hide and seek again and describes that they've played it 3 times before, but had never zipped one another shut in it before. And they were really just running out of places to hide because it's just a townhome. She does not remember, according to her, she does not remember taking any photos or videos of the night's events. At this point, they ask her, well, would you like to see it? And she says, I can't watch this. I flipped him over, and that's where it was. Guys, this is killing me right now. That's why I flipped it over between the 2 videos. I didn't do anything intentional. Discussion over whether he had enough room to get any of his fingers out from the zipper. My intention was not to leave him there. We both got in there. Both of us were in there. When she went upstairs, my plan was not to, quote, he'll be up here any minute. My plan wasn't to leave him in the suitcase. Why is all this going on? It's the drinking. That's what it is. It's the drinking. I thought he was okay. Guys, that's how we were with each other. Nobody understands our relationship. This whole suitcase thing never happened before, though she described it happening before. I'll never drink alcohol again. She insists that she has no injuries on her. And you don't have to take her word for it because they took photographs of her and there were no injuries on her. She insists over and over that there was no violence that day. It's like, okay, we're in a good place right now. They ask her about saying fuck you to Mr. Torres. Well, that's just being playful and having a good day. Everybody's having a good day. I didn't touch him, nor did he touch me. Her words. What else is found on her phone? There's a conversation between Mr. Torres's brother, and again, nobody knows who's using these phones at the time text messages are sent in these records that you're going to see. But it's indicated that there's a communication between one of the decedent's brothers and the owner of the phone that was taken that belongs to Ms. Boone. The text from the brother is, yo, my daughter told me what you did, Sarah. I don't want you around any of my daughters or nieces, nephews. And that's Christmas 2019, just under 2 months before this event. She replies, or the person using her device at this time, ugh, your quote unquote dad hit me in the face. The next text is, hide and seek, I shall. January 13th, there's another heated discussion. She describes it on January 13th in a text to Mo, the brother again. It's a Torres thing. Boo. Sends a picture. Keep the fugly creep out too. It's still fugly. Lose. The brother responds, please do something with yourself, Sarah. God bless you. The defendant's response, and bless you and all of you too. I'll get, in all capitals, rid of him. Then it'll be, in all capitals, better. Ugh, Torres, referring to Mr. Torres, getting rid of. And that's the case. That's what the evidence is going to show. But we, the state of Florida, and the members of the jury in our journey through this case, we're all going to come up to a door that says, danger, keep out, stay away, by court order. And that door says, the defendant's history with the victim. It is a door we shall not enter without permission and invitation. Halloween in like 13 days. Part of the vampire lore is vampires can't come get you in your house. Why? Participate during this trial. We're going to be invited in to the defendant's past relationship with the previous couple of years with Mr. Torres. And as we come inside this room, at her beckoning, we're going to have things pointed out that she would like us to focus on. And you're going to hear the first night the defendant met the decedent, Mr. Torres, he smashes her phone, punches her. It's the first time in her life she'd ever been punched, I expect the testimony would be. And he made her curl up in a fetal position on her own porch for 4 hours, and she was only able to escape this situation when he fell asleep. I expect that you're going to hear that Mr. Torres is an alcoholic. I expect you may hear his high score on his blood alcohol level was a 342 once when he got treated at the hospital. This is a man who had serious alcohol problems, and I expect you're going to hear about that. Despite that first date,
And this is going to tie into some other things that I expect could possibly come in. Despite that first date, despite at that point in time of this first date not having a relationship, emotional ties, and the things that come along with a relationship that make it harder to break off a relationship, it's one thing to have a bad first date. It's another thing to end a 25-year marriage. Despite that first date, there's a second and a third. Now, these dates are at bars, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it just typically ends up, she's going to tell you, I suspect, or you're going to hear that she said, one way or another. It's one thing or the other. Like, I ask a dude for a cigarette, Mr. Torres flips out, and I'm going to pay the price. Just things like that. You're going to hear, potentially see, yes, there were injuries that the defendant is going to attribute to the victim causing her. Black eyes. Cuts in the face, perhaps from the curtain rod incident that was mentioned in the police interview, happened with our mom boys. Bloody ear. A stab wound in the leg, which is perhaps described as sword fighting, playing around in medical terms. But nonetheless, I suspect you're going to hear and see a lot about their past history. And at the end, if this occurs, if this comes in, the state is going to have the opportunity to take lead of the tour in this room labeled the defendant and the victim's past history. And I'm not going to go into that now. If this all comes to fruit, the blooms on the tree during the trial, we'll discuss it at the end where it's more appropriate. But I'm asking you to not rush to judgments until you hear all of the evidence in the case. And then apply whether or not these past instances have anything to do with what happened on February 23rd. Now, like a home inspector, there are experts to come in and kind of help walk everybody through this room labeled the defendant and the victim's past relationship. I suspect there's a chance you may hear from some experts, psychologists and psychiatrists, about battered spouse syndrome. The state is not challenging in any way that battered spouse syndrome exists. It's well recognized. The experts will tell you all about it. Not disputing that at all. But there's some things that we would hope that you pay attention to during all the testimony, if there is any, about this subject matter. One is that it's not actually a recognized diagnosis in the Bible that they use in mental health called DSM-5. Diagnostic Statistical Manual, version 5, and I think it's text revision, something like that. What it is, and what they describe it as, is kind of a component of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. But because it's not actually in the book, it's like a recipe book. It's like our statute books for lawyers. You go into this book and say you have a particular disorder or diagnosis. It'll say, well, all of us agree that it needs these three elements, like elements of crime. Some of these elements have to be prevalent for a certain amount of time, so on and so forth. You imagine it's a cookbook. It gives you the recipe for a diagnosis. But because it's not in the cookbook, you may get some disagreement about what it means between the experts. It's kind of like grandma's recipe handed down from generation to generation without being right. But what I expect you'll hear is, it's important for people who don't have experience in certain abusive relationships that are violent to understand the control that can be exerted over an intimate partner by the other one, isolation, psychological violence, emotional violence, physical violence, sexual violence, which I suspect will be described for you as well by the defendant, perpetrated on her by the decedent. You will hear about all this. And what it ties into at the end of the day, after we've talked about this during jury selection, is if there is a self-defense instruction read to you, this is to help you understand what an objective and reasonable person in the circumstances would do. Because years ago, we've gotten better as a society. Years ago, when this was first being researched, the question would be, well, why wouldn't you leave? And battered spouse syndrome and the testimony from these experts help explain those things to people. Well, it's not that easy. You got to look at what's going on in the relationship, the isolation, control, so on and so forth. And that explains why you wouldn't leave. Well, now, but turning to the facts of our case, what you're going to decide the facts are is ordinary, objective, reasonable person in those circumstances taking those actions if you get a self-defense instruction. That's what it's used for. It's not used for explaining the subjective beliefs that one holds. What you will also hear about these things is, just like any other doctor or any expert, like a home inspector. If a home inspector's report was based solely on the person who's trying to sell the house, what they say about the house, great shape. I rewired the entire thing. Brand new JDC pipes. This sucker's good to go. I'm pretty good at $600,000. You're not going to take that home inspector's report unless they lift the hood, kick the tires, do all the things that the Fox on here, Carfax does. You want an expert to get reliable information. The expert's opinion is only as good as the information that he or she relies on. They will say, yeah, you gotta take into account the credibility of the person who's giving you the story. Even if it's the patient, the client that is saying all these things happen to her. You gotta find proper information. You gotta check reliability. Particularly in circumstances that we discussed. So another thing that they're going to tell you is just because there's a bunch of violent nonsense going on between two intimate partners doesn't mean that spouse syndrome applies. Some people can go home and fight like cats and dogs. And that's just their day, and they get over it, they live their life and find another day. Their cycle just spins like that. So just because you hear about those things, what the experts will tell you, doesn't mean that it necessarily applies. If this testimony comes in, I expect that Dr. Hartford said it applies to this food. But we'll talk to her about what she relied upon to make that conclusion. We'll talk about some other things and take that journey together to get there. But at the end of the day, after you hear all of the evidence in this case, particularly straight from the horse's mouth to the video, where you don't have to rely upon the credibility of anything other than your own two eyes and your own ears, the state submits that you're going to return a guilty verdict for second-degree murder. What the evidence is going to show is that the defendant killed Mr. Torres because she decided he deserved it. Not because the evidence will show an objective, reasonable person in her circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. J. Any opening remarks by the defense?
Judge, can we invoke the rule that has been?
I've already advised the witnesses.
Okay, the rule sequestration will be invoked. Thank you. You may proceed, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Appreciate y'all being here. I was introduced before. My name is James Owens, and I represent Sarah Boone, along with Tony Henderson and Kevin Devin. Now, this is going to be a 7-day trial. Obviously, today, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're not sure, but we're trying to make arrangements to witnesses to find expert witnesses. We'll know more probably end of the day, we'll get money, so you can complain. But I know your focus is on this case because you took an oath. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no higher call than to write on. No higher call than to write on. And we're going to ask you in the case to write this law. And find Sarah Boone not guilty because she was justified in the force that she used to defend herself. If that force was reasonable under the circumstances that existed between Sarah Boone and Jorge Torres. Sarah Boone and Jorge Torres were down and out, as you can be. Their life centered around alcohol. Both of them suffered from, used to be called alcoholism, now it's called alcohol abuse syndrome. And so day to day, they struggle with the use of alcohol. You can imagine it. It affected their jobs. It affected keeping employment. It affected even getting a job. As codependent as you can be towards each other. And you're going to learn with all that was domestic violence. And that Jorge Torres physically abused Sarah Boone. And she suffered from the effects, the psychological effects that one suffers from repeat violence from an intimate partner. They were together over 3 years, and there were several prior incidences of violence. We've got the photographs. There were incidences where police were called who took photographs. So you're going to be able to see the evidence. And we believe the court will instruct you at the end when you're considering self-defense, which we call justifiable use of non-deadly force or justifiable use of deadly force, that you can consider the prior acts, the history of violence, the prior difficulties that the parties had. And considering her set of circumstances that she was faced with in making the decision to use reasonable force under the circumstances. And the most important thing I can tell you here today is keep an open mind. There's two sides to every story. You're going to hear the state's side, them attempting to paint her a certain way, as they've done here today in opening statement. And then you're going to hear another side. And you're going to have to weigh that. All the evidence, the credibility of the witnesses, the photographs, the videotapes, and come to a conclusion. Now let's talk about this day, February 23rd of 2020, the date of this event. This case has been pending for some time. Here we are, October of 2024. I think the evidence is going to show that they had purchased some wine the day before, but they hadn't finished all of that. So it was in the refrigerator. Many times that's how they start their day. At some point, you're going to see a video from Publix, from where they live. I believe it's Winter Park. But Publix was not too far from their apartment complex. And they took their car, they drove over there, So you're gonna see a videotape from Publix of them both going in the store about noon, and they come out with one of those larger bottles of the wine. And then, of course, there's a receipt, and the bottles are in the garbage can. Of course, there obviously is an attraction between the two. And as everybody knows, couples can have great times where things click, everybody gets along, and then we can have episodes of disagreement. And how are those resolved? Really, is what this is about. How are disagreements resolved? But George was very jealous of Sarah. And you're going to hear the testimony about that. And that he cannot, in certain situations, he can be very charming. But when his level of intoxication gets to a certain level, is when he gets sad, moody, and a lot of times eventually it involved forcible sex with Sarah Boone or actual physical violence against her. They bought the wine. It's a simple life. They don't have much money, but they both like art. They did that for a while. They both like puzzles. They did that for a while. Well, about 5 or so, the wine bottle was gone. And George had said, I want to go get some cigarettes. So there's a convenience store right close by their apartment complex. And Sarah thought he was just going to walk over there and get cigarettes and come back. But no, what he did was he got her keys, he got her debit card, and he went over to the Publix and he got another bottle. I think that was about 5:30, something like that. And again, there'll be the Publix video showing him going in and going out, and there'll be a receipt for the purchase of that bottle, and then there'll be that bottle will be in the garbage can along with the other bottle. Well, when he comes in with the second bottle, Sarah knows this is not good. She knows this means he's going to get to another level of intoxication. So Sarah's concerned. So she attempts to placate him, keep him busy, keep him in a good mood. They drink that bottle, or she drinks as well. And at some point, they're intoxicated at a high level. As some people do when they're drunk, they get silly. And they decide to play a game of hide and seek. She goes upstairs, their bedroom's upstairs, to the shower and waits for a period of time. And he doesn't come to her. At some point, she gets cold, she gets tired. She wants to go see, well, maybe we got it mixed up. Where is he? So she goes downstairs, and they had gotten a suitcase down a week or so ago. It's an old suitcase that they were going to donate to Helping Hands or Goodwill or somebody, and they were putting some items in there. And it's a broken down suitcase. It's a large suitcase. They both weigh about 100 pounds. And they don't eat good. Malnourished to a large degree. But the pull handle is broken off. And they've attached a little paper clip that's got the rubber around it. And that's how they move back and forth. Well, she comes down the steps. She sees him getting in and settling in the suitcase. So she walks over there, and they see each other. They smile and laugh, and she zips him up. And she zips him up, and they laugh for a while. And they carry on. She sits on the couch. And at some point, he says, I can't breathe. Now, his face is facing the zipper, and she's got 2 or 3 inches that she's opened it. And she doesn't know, they're intoxicated, she doesn't know whether he's just saying that to try to get her to get him out or what. But he's a captive audience. Physically, they're the same size, but he's much stronger than her. If they got in a fist fight, he would win 100 times out of 100. But she's got him now. He claims he can't get out. He has to sit and listen. It's a unique form of physical restraint. And so she lets him have it. Says things she shouldn't say. You'll see the video. It's about 2 minutes long. She videotapes it. She sits on the couch and turns her phone on and videotapes it for about 2 minutes. There's another video that's approximately 11 minutes later. The first video, Jorges, the suitcase is flipped upside down. The zippers are off. 11 minutes later, Sarah has flipped it right side up. Again, open for him to get out. And it's only 22 seconds. And you hear George say, Sarah. And that's it. Now, the key to the case is that 11 minutes. And what happened during that 11 minutes. Okay? That is the key to this case. Sarah Boone will take the stand. She will explain what happened. She will explain why it happened. The evidence will show that she was justified in the action she took to prevent an attack from Jorge Torres, which the law acknowledges that every one of us has a right to invoke, the right of self-defense. You're going to hear from the medical examiner. She is going to tell you about some bruising on Jorge Torres. Of course, he was in the suitcase a while, deceased, we believe. And that changes things a little bit, as the medical examiner will explain, but there's some bruising. Sarah's going to explain that to you. Why that happened. What were the circumstances surrounding that? Involving a bat. Her son comes and stays with them from time to time. He has his own room. He has several of his things there. And there's a bat downstairs. The same bat that Jorge Torres used, and there's a video where George is threatening Sarah. And he's swinging the bat at the TV about as hard as he can. And he does it about 6 or 7 times. You'll see it. Sarah's recording it. And it's during an argument. And he's trying to intimidate. Sarah loved you. You know, you're going to hear why women don't leave. Why women don't leave. And you're going to hear about Sarah Boone and her struggles, her mental health struggles. Sarah had no intent to kill him. The prosecutor mentioned she wanted him to die. Farthest from the truth. She loved the man. She hated the abuse. She couldn't leave him. She tried. She tried kicking him out 6 or 7 times. He kept coming back. She changed the locks. He kept coming back. She didn't have the family. She didn't have the support. She was weak, vulnerable. You're going to hear it all. You got to take that all into account to try to understand what happened and the circumstances surrounding this tumultuous relationship. Now, you're going to find that Sarah's not perfect. And, you know, she goes, as many of us do when we drink too much, you sleep in. She slept in. 11, 12, 1, somewhere around there. She moseys downstairs looking for George. She thought he was on the computer looking for a job. She looked outside, maybe he's out smoking a cigarette, and she sees the suitcase. She unzips it. She gets him out. He's purple. She tries her best to do some CPR. She freaks out. The only family she's got is her ex-husband, really. She relies on him. As the prosecutor said, a lot of times she'll flee to her ex-husband's house. And where her son is at? Lucas. It's the only thing she knows to do. She was kind of a sheltered daughter when she was younger. She's smart, but she's not worldly. She calls Brian. What do I do? He said, I'm coming over. Please come over. He's about 5 minutes away. And she calls him again within a couple of minutes. Yeah, I'm on the way. He gets there. He walks in the foyer and sees his legs. He said, call 911. She calls 911 within a minute or two. Detective Rodriguez arrives. You know, they got the body cam now, so it's recorded. So you're going to hear Sarah talking. But Sarah's freaking out. Sarah's thinking, and I'm somehow responsible. Eventually, she gives a statement to law enforcement. She gives one to Deputy Rodriguez. Of course, she's not the homicide investigator. She just responded. She's the first responder. And, you know, they know what to do. They try to assess the situation. They start putting the tape out. And then they call for the homicide investigators to come, which takes a little time. So she gets a statement from Sarah. Eventually, the homicide detectives get a statement from Sarah and one of the unmarked squad cars. And it's recorded. They hear that. And then the next day, they take Sarah's phone. Sarah gives them the phone, signs the consent to take the phone, take it to, they have a phone extraction people at the sheriff's department where they can take it and take out all the data, all your phone calls, text messages, photographs, videos, all that. And they find these 2 videos. Sarah's not aware. She doesn't remember making the video. You can imagine. She gives them the phone. Well, she makes no attempts to do anything other than, here's the phone. So they tell her, you're going to get your phone back tomorrow. We'll bring it back to you tomorrow. Well, of They end up having a conversation with the female detective, homicide detective, Copsel, is her name. Chelsea Copsel. And they end up, Deputy Copsel was pregnant, or Detective Copsel was pregnant. So they end up, hey, we're not gonna bring your phone, I'm not feeling good, pregnant, can you come to the sheriff's department? Which Sarah Boone was to tell you, that was what I was going, that's what they told me I was going to the sheriff's department for. Well, instead, it was an interrogation. And they were going to arrest her. They made their mind up on it. And they were going to confront her and try to get her to confess based on the two videos. And so there's approximately a 2-hour interrogation that was on the 25th in the afternoon. When she got there to get her phone, they said, well, we got to come up here. We need to talk. And they got her in the room. It's a small room, but it's being videotaped and audio taped. And it goes on for about 2 hours of them trying to get a confession to murder. And it doesn't happen. But Sarah lies. She's scared. She can tell they're trying to pin her on this, that this was some kind of intentional act, and it was not. So she lies. She's not a lawyer. She doesn't know about self-defense. She doesn't understand she has a lawful right to defend herself. She doesn't understand that she's justified in using the force that she used. She doesn't. I wasn't there to advise her. No lawyer was there. So she lied. And you're going to hear that. So you're going to have to balance that versus her taking the stand and testifying before you. And we simply ask that you look for the evidence of cooperation of her testimony. It's going to be later, probably next week. The judges will tell you in reading instruction on evaluating the witness's credibility. And they'll talk about corroborative evidence, other evidence that's consistent with the testimony that Sarah Boone will give you. So you're going to have to weigh that in her testimony. Now, self-defense, we talked about it in jury selection, usually a gun, some deadly weapon. The suitcase in this case was a physical restraint or a blocking of an attack, but it was unconventional. Self-defense nonetheless. Now, as I said, the struggles that occurred, many of them involved the police. So you're going to actually hear from some of the police officers. Maybe some body cam footage. You're going to see some photographs that they took of the injuries to Sarah Boone. And some of the videos you may see of her in a very happy, joyful type of thing. Well, number one, she's intoxicated. Number two, she's safe. Police are there. So her attitude is not one of distress. We're here today, full packed courtroom. Judge Crane's here, but you're the most important people. Because you've got to decide this case honestly, fairly, and according to the law. And we talked about the two biggest principles from the Constitution that apply. In this case, and in every case in which a citizen like Sarah Boone is brought into a courtroom and accused of a crime. The first is, you as a juror must presume or believe that Sarah is innocent. And that belief stays with you throughout the entire trial. Because of that, she doesn't have to prove anything. That's why the state went first In jury selection, that's why the state went first today. That's why the state will go first putting on their case. They have the burden of proof, and it's the highest burden we recognize in any type of litigation in this country. Proof beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. You are going to have doubts about this case. But the most important thing is not to rush to judgment, to keep an open mind and understand there's two sides to this case. There's their side and there's our side. So you can't form any fixed opinions early on. That's hard to do, as Mr. Henderson said in open or in jury selection. That's extremely hard to do. Now you're going to hear some testimony. There's been mention of experts. Battered women's experiences affect her perception of imminent danger. Battered women's experiences affect her perception of imminent danger. Victims of repeat violence may fear death in a situation others would not. After hearing both sides of this case, we're confident you're going to have a reasonable doubt. And we're going to ask you to follow the law and do justice in this case. And find Sarah Boone not guilty, because it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can the parties approach for a moment? And once seated, if you'd state and spell your name for the record for us, please.
Juan Torres, Juantorres.
Thank you, sir. You may inquire, Mr. Cacciatore.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you tell us how it is that you know Jorge Torres?
He's my older brother.
And how many siblings do you have?
Six or seven.
And how long has your family resided here in the Central Florida area?
20 plus years.
And before residing in the Central Florida area, were you guys in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania?
Yes, sir. And Massachusetts.
Your brother, how often, your brother George, that is, how often would you talk with him?
Often we talk, say, on a weekly basis.
And how far away did you live from George?
About 5-10 minutes. Very close.
Would you see him pretty often?
I would try not to go there too much.
Who was George living with at the time that he passed away?
Wait, Sarah?
And without getting into many details, what was your relationship like with Sarah?
We didn't really have a relationship.
Would it be fair to say you didn't get along with her?
Yes.
Back on February 23rd, 2020, did you have an occasion to talk to your brother on that day?
Yes, sir.
And when you spoke with your brother on that day, did you FaceTime with him or did you speak with him over the phone?
We talked on the phone.
Was that phone to your ear or was that phone?
It was on speaker.
And who was present?
My wife and my 2 kids.
And without telling us anything that George may have said to you, Can you tell us what the topic of that conversation was?
We were just talking like we normally do. He just calling me to check on me, basically.
Now, in the background of that conversation on the evening of February 23rd, 2020, what did you hear?
Sarah's in the background yelling.
You recognized her voice?
Yes.
What was she yelling about?
Something about choking or how he choked her. I really don't. That was it.
About how long was this conversation that you had?
Maybe 10 minutes, I think it was.
How did the conversation end?
Because she was yelling in the background, so that was it.
Did she sound upset?
She sounded upset.
Did you talk to your brother after that conversation?
No, that was the last conversation I had.
Have you ever spoken to Sarah since that conversation?
No.
I have no further questions.
Any cross-examination?
In the beginning, when you started, it was hard for me to hear, but I know you were talking about other siblings, other family members that you had here. Could you repeat that for me, please?
Here in Orlando, I have one sister and 3 brothers.
Sister and 3 brothers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, did your brother, Jorge Torres, did he ever stay with you at any time?
No.
Would he ever live with you or not you, but any of your other siblings?
No.
All right, sir. Let's go back to this phone call that you were talking about that was on February 23rd of 2020. And that phone call was approximately 7:30. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And who called who?
He called me.
And then y'all were talking. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And when he called you, did you notice anything about his speech or his voice?
No, he was fine.
Sounded normal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he wasn't slurring his words or anything like that?
No.
By the way he talked or what he talked to you about, could you tell at that time if he had been consuming alcohol?
No, because I knew when he would drink.
Okay. So in your opinion at that time, based on what you heard and what he was talking about, you do not believe he had been drinking alcohol?
No.
Now, you said you heard Sarah.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? How did you know it was Sarah?
I could tell in her voice.
You recognized her voice. So you could hear her. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you've heard Sarah speak before that time. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you've heard her speak on the phone before that time. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you said that Sarah was yelling. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
And she was yelling about, he's choking me. Or tell him about choking me.
Yes.
Okay. During that conversation, and you heard her say that, did you ask your brother, what is she talking about?
No, I did not.
Did that statement at that time, did that statement surprise you?
Not really.
You've heard it before?
No.
Sir, other than siblings, your mother and father, do they live in this area?
Yes.
Were there times that George would stay with them?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Any redirect examination?
No, Your Honor.
Can this witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense?
Actually, we'll keep him subject to recall, Your Honor.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
All right, sir. You're released subject to recall by either party. Thank you.
My name is Devin Jamro. That's DEVIN JAMRO.
Thank you. You may inquire, sir.
Sir, who do you work for?
I work for Publix supermarkets.
And what is your position with Publix supermarkets?
I am the assistant store manager.
And at what location?
Currently the Castleberry location.
Were you at the location on Goldenrod and University Boulevard back in February of 2020?
Yes, I was.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness which has been previously marked for identification as states D and been shown to defense?
D is in Delta?
D is in Delta.
Yes, you may.
Sir, I'm showing you it's been marked for identification as states D. Could you use these scissors and open this and look at the contents of this package to yourself?
Sure.
Sir, do you recognize those items?
I do. Yes.
And tell us, what are these items?
These are Publix receipts.
Are these receipts evidence of transactions at Publix? Are they made at or near the time of each transaction?
They are absolutely made at the time of the transaction.
And is it in the normal course of business that Publix keeps these receipts?
Yes.
And these fairly and accurately appear to be the receipts from your Publix store.
Yep.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification as states D into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection?
What was pre-marked as states D will be received into evidence without objection as states 1.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness which has been previously marked for identification as states J and shown to defense?
You may.
So I'm showing you it's been marked for identification as states J. Can you take a look at that disc? Do you see your initials on that disc?
I do.
Did you have an opportunity to look at that disc prior to coming to court this morning?
I did. Yes.
And tell us, what is that disc?
This is CCTV footage burned from the camera system at the location.
And at Publix, is it the regular practice of Publix to utilize surveillance cameras?
Yes.
And in the normal course of business, are the videos from those surveillance cameras kept?
Yes.
And are these the cameras taken from February 23rd, 2020? And I believe there's 2 video clips included, one at 12:17 p.m. and another at approximately 5:39 p.m.
Yes.
And they fairly and accurately represent the surveillance video that was submitted from Publix to law enforcement in this case.
They do. Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification as states J into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection?
What was pre-marked as states J will be received into evidence without objection as states 2.
And I have no further questions for this witness.
Any cross-examination?
Yes.
Can this witness be released?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. You're released.
Thank you.
Joan, Joan Williams, Williams.
Thank you, ma'am. Counselor, you may inquire.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Can you tell us what it is that you do for a living?
I'm a 911 call taker at the Orange County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you held that position?
24 years.
And tell us, what are your duties as a 911 call taker?
I answer phones for an emergency, non-emergency, medical, which I transfer to the medical side of the business.
And is it the regular practice of Orange County to record 911 calls?
All lines are recorded.
And is it the regular practice of Orange County to keep records of each of those 911 calls?
Yes.
And those records are made at or near the time of each call, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness what's been previously marked for identification as states L and been shown to defense?
May.
Ma'am, I'm showing you what's been previously marked for identification as states L. Do you recognize this disc?
Yes. My initials.
Did you have an opportunity to review this disc prior to coming to court this morning?
Yes.
And those are your initials on the disc?
Yes.
And does this disc, does it fairly and accurately represent the 911 call that you took in this case on February 24th, 2020 at 12:59 hours?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification as states L into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection.
It was pre-marked as states L will be received with no objection as states 3.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Any cross-examination?
No, sir.
Right. Can this witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's Vincent Battaglia, Vincent Battaglia.
Thank you. Sir, you may inquire.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Can you tell us what it is you do for a living?
Right now I work for an auto parts company,
And where do you live?
New Jersey.
Back on February of 2020, where were you living at that time?
I was living at the Tealwood Apartments in Winter Park, Florida.
And what were you doing at that time when you were living at Tealwood?
I was enrolled in Full Sail University. I was in school.
When you were living at Tealwood, did you have any roommates?
Yeah, I had one roommate, Brandon. Yeah, that was it. Them.
That's Brandon Moats?
Yes.
Did you have neighbors?
Yeah.
Were you neighbors with Sarah Boone and Jorge Torres?
Yes.
And approximately how long were you neighbors with them?
About a year, a little over a year. I moved there in January 2019.
And during the course of that year that you were neighbors with them, did you have occasion to interact with them at times?
Yeah.
In fact, did you ever go over to their home?
Yeah, like a couple times, yeah.
And I believe you tuned a guitar for a child there at the house?
Yeah.
This Tealwood apartment complex, how would you describe the walls that separated your units?
Thin, like very thin walls.
And with those walls being so thin, would you ever have occasion to hear arguing and yelling coming from Sarah Boone and Jorge Torres' apartment?
Yeah.
How often would you hear this?
Almost daily.
Did Sarah Boone ever approach you about the things that you heard coming from their apartment?
Yes.
And where were you when she approached you?
I was smoking a cigarette on my back patio.
And approximately what time
It
was this?
pretty late. I can't remember the exact time, but it was definitely anywhere between like midnight to 2 a.m., like right around there.
And do you remember how much before the date when the police called that this occurred?
A few months, like probably 4 to 5 months before that.
So 4 or 5 months before February
Of
of
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
And when she approached you on this late evening / early morning on that day, what did she tell you?
Pretty much just kind of like if I do hear anything like through the walls or whatever is out back, just kind of keep my mouth shut, like don't really speak about it or anything like that or say anything to anyone. And I just was like, okay.
Did she make any motions with her hands?
Yeah, like just kind of like, you know, finger over the lips, like kind of shh, like keep it hush, like that kind of thing.
So she told you not to report anything you may have heard about arguments or yelling or fighting, anything going on over there?
Yeah.
Do you recall the evening of February 23rd, 2020?
I do, yeah.
And what about that evening sticks out to you?
That sticks out to me from that night was literally just there was a very, very loud noise that I heard that was loud and powerful enough to shake my bedroom wall. And I remember that because I was sitting on my bed on FaceTime with my girlfriend at the time, and I literally felt the wall shake and it stopped me mid-conversation. And she even asked me through the computer, like, what was that? And I was like, I have no idea.
Did you hear any yelling coming from their apartment on that night?
Before that, yeah, like it was just arguing kind of stuff.
What was the last thing you heard?
The last thing I heard was like the loud noise and just a little bit of shuffling, and that was kind of it. It just kind of went silent after that.
Could you hear anything that was being said?
Not clearly, and it was never really anything clear. It was just like you could hear arguing back and forth, just kind of like an I hate you, like it's whatever it is, whatever the argument was about kind of thing. At the time, that's really all it was, but it was never really clear enough to hear like the full argument. And honestly, I never really paid attention too much to it. If I heard it, I kind of stepped into my living room to be further away from it.
Did you hear both the defendant's voice and also Jorge Torres' voice?
Yeah. All the time. It was like a back and forth. Yeah.
So other than the statements and the phrases of I hate you, you weren't able to discern the contents of this argument?
No.
What was the last sound you heard?
The last sound that I heard was like the loud banging noise that it was like a very odd sounding noise that I've never heard before this day, but it very much sounded like it was where my bed was positioned. It was kind of towards the back of the apartment, and it almost sounded like it was coming towards me, but like on the side of me, you know. Then it was just like a loud rumbling noise, like that literally sounded like it was kind of far away from me, and then it like ended up like almost next to me. And like I said, the walls are thin, so like it's very easy to hear like through the walls, and not even just sideways. Like I hear my upstairs neighbor, like all around, very thin walls.
Now, was your bedroom, where was it located in your apartment?
The back of the apartment. So it was like, there's like a little kick out next to my patio, and that's like, that was my bedroom back there, like along the grass back there.
On the first floor?
On the first floor, yeah.
I have no further questions.
Any cross-examination?
Mr. Taglett, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, you said that you lived there next to Sarah Boone and Jorge Torres for about a year?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that the police were called to their residence?
Like,
while you were there for the year, are you aware of any incident in which the police were called to their residence?
I had never seen anybody there, but I had had other neighbors in the complex tell me that it has been on multiple occasions. So that's why
just instead of what somebody else told you.
Yeah.
Just what you would observe. Did you ever, the year that you were there living next to them?
Yeah.
Were you ever aware that the police were called to their residence?
No, the times that I was home, I never saw any police at the apartment there.
And did you work odd hours or you went?
Yeah, and with my schooling and stuff too, I used to have class at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So all the time I was at random moments, like just not home throughout the day and night and stuff like that. So yeah.
Do you have an opinion as to whether or not, based on your interaction with Sarah Boone?
I'm going to object.
Let me finish the question first, please.
Do you know from your experience with Sarah Boone and your experience with Jorge Torres that they drank alcohol?
Yeah.
Hang on.
I'll withdraw to that question.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Are you aware that they both consumed alcohol to excess?
Yes.
Now, Vincent, I think you had testified, you may have given a statement to law enforcement,
Yes, it was one of the detectives.
a recorded statement?
Yes, I can't remember his name, but yes.
Okay, and I think it was on February 23rd of 2020.
Yeah, right around that time, yeah.
I believe you had said that,
I'm going to object as to improper impeachment.
Approach. Objection's overruled for now.
sir, would it be fair to say on that date you got home around 7 p.m.?
7 p.m.?
Yes.
Which day was this?
Sunday, February 23rd, 2020.
No, that day I actually got home from work probably around 1 or 2 o'clock or so.
In the morning?
No, in the afternoon. Because I went to work that morning at around 5 a.m.
And you said that you heard the normal yelling and arguing at about that time when you got home?
No, it was around that time, but it was really around like 10 o'clock, 10:30 is when like the arguing I could really hear clearly. It was like around 10:30 at night.
Okay. Thank you.
Any redirect?
Just very briefly.
Yes, sir.
So on cross-examination, you were asked about the arguing you heard, and I believe your testimony was that it was pretty intense around 10:30.
Yeah.
Approximately what time was it that you heard this loud crashing thump sound that you described?
Little after that.
Overruled.
It was a little after that arguing and stuff. It was probably around 11:15, probably 30, 45 minutes after like the arguing I could hear started.
No other questions?
Can this witness be released?
Yes, Joan.
Yes.
Not subject to recall.
We would like him subject to recall. We've got his number.
Okay.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes. All right, sir. You are released, not subject to recall. Have a great day. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Brandon Moats, BRANDONMOATS.
Thank you. Mr. Cacciatore, you may inquire.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell us how it is that you knew Sarah Boone?
I moved into the apartment next door to her when I was in college.
And so when was that you were in college?
I would have moved down here in 2019 and would have been there until like 2021, 2022.
So she was your neighbor at Tealwood Apartments, is that correct?
Yeah, it would have been Tealwood back then, yeah.
And did you have any roommates back then?
Yes, I was rooming with Vincent Battaglia.
And during that time, what were you doing? As far as work and school?
I was just going to school. During the time of this, yeah, I would have just been going to school. I don't think I would have had my job yet. I was just a student.
Did you have much interaction with the defendant or with Jorge Torres in this case?
Honestly, I avoided them as much as possible usually.
The apartment where you lived, tell us, how would you describe the walls that separated your units?
Yeah, I remember that my bedroom was like the front-facing bedroom, and our walls shared a wall with where their staircase was. So, like the way the apartments were laid out, we had a 1-story apartment, they had a 2-story apartment. So they had a staircase running right next to the walls, next to like our bedrooms.
Would you ever have occasion to hear arguing and yelling going on inside of the defendant's apartment?
Yes, the walls were pretty thin, so if people were yelling, you could definitely hear it.
And how often would you hear arguments or disagreements going on over there?
When I first moved in, it was it was at least like once a week, to the point that I started tuning them out. Like I got good enough at just like not listening to them. They argued very, very often.
Do you recall the evening of February 23rd, 2020?
Yes, sir.
And on that evening, could you hear arguing going on in their unit?
Not late into the evening, earlier into the evening, probably like 7, 8 o'clock that evening, probably like earlier on, I could hear arguing.
And where were you inside of your apartment?
I would have been in my bedroom pretty much all night.
And your bedroom, just so that we can paint the picture, where would that would that have been, on the first floor or the second floor?
We had a first floor apartment.
Okay, so all the units were, or all the bedrooms were on the first floor.
Yeah, like I was saying before, we had a 1-story apartment, and then they next door had like a 2-story townhouse. So we only had the 1 floor.
Understood. And at a certain point in the evening, did you hear a loud crashing sound?
Yeah, probably around 10:30, 11 o'clock that evening.
And can you describe that sound for us in more detail?
I mean, yeah, at literally, like I said, at like 10:30, 11 o'clock, it's the way their staircase was set up. I could, my bedroom, the top of their staircase would have been like above my ceiling, and it ends next to where like my roommate's apartment was. So I could hear something start above me super loud and then fall away from me, like it was falling down the stairs.
Did this affect the walls that were between your two apartments?
Oh yeah, me and my roommate, I remember me and my roommate talking the next day about like we could literally, like, it shook both of our rooms.
Did you ever have occasion to talk with the defendant about what happened?
I never saw her after that. She would have, I never saw her after that happened.
No further questions.
Any cross-examination?
Sir, you were asked by the state if you ever had any interactions with Sarah Boone or Jorge Torres. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I think you said you tried to avoid them.
Yeah. I don't like drunk people, and they were drunk a lot, so I did not interact with them.
Okay. Do you remember this interaction with Sarah Boone in 2009 when you woke up and witnessed Sarah?
I would have been 9 years old in 2009.
I'm sorry, 2019. Good catch. In 2019, when you woke up and witnessed Sarah sleeping on the concrete patio.
Oh, this may have been a slight misconception in how I said this. I never woke up and saw her sitting on the patio myself. That I would have seen her on the patio eventually, but it's not like I woke up and went back and saw her on the patio. This was my roommate relaying the story that she had fallen asleep on the back patio, and then I saw her.
Okay. So you did not witness that yourself, or did you see her?
I saw her asleep on the back patio. I was just clearing up the sequence of events there.
Okay, thank you. Another time, do you recall our interaction with Miss Boone when you were coming home from school and she was trying to talk to you and she seemed paranoid and rambling?
Yeah, I had gotten locked out of my apartment, so I was waiting on the steps to, I was like waiting on the steps outside of my apartment for my roommate to get home. So she came up and started talking to me. I don't really remember too many like details of what she was saying, because I didn't want to talk to her. But yeah.
Okay. You remember saying that you believe Sarah was avoiding going into her apartment?
That's definitely the vibe. I don't remember what she was saying, but like the vibe she was giving off was that she didn't want to go home.
Now I believe, and I just want to make sure that I heard you. You said that the first arguments, other than the boom, which was like 10 something, initially it was around the 7 p.m. You heard arguing?
It would have, yeah, because it would have been, I remember that day I got home from class around 5, because I got out of class around 4:30 usually and walked home. So I would have gotten home around 5:30. And it would have been after I took, because I came home, I made myself lunch and I took a shower, and then I heard all of their arguing. So it would have been about an hour and a half, 2 hours after I got home. So around 7 to 8 o'clock.
Okay. And during that time, when you say arguing, was it back and forth?
I honestly, I wouldn't really be able to say if it was back and forth. I don't know I wouldn't remember too vividly if it was back and forth. Or if it was
Let me ask you this. Did you hear a male voice?
Yes, I heard a male voice.
Did you hear a female voice?
Yes.
Okay. Were they both loud?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Can this witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Subject to recall, Judge.
All right. All right, sir, you're released subject to recall. Thank you. Sir, good afternoon. You could be seated. After seated, if you could please state and spell your name for the record for us.
Brian Boone, BRIAN BOONE.
Thank you, sir. You may inquire.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell us how it is that you know the defendant?
I dated her for quite a while, and then we eventually got married.
When you say you dated her for quite a while, how long are we talking?
I met her in the late 90s, and I believe it was around 2005 when we got married.
Did you have any children as a result of your marriage with the defendant?
Yes, we had one son.
And how old is that son?
He is currently getting ready to turn 14.
Did your marriage with the defendant last?
No, it did not.
And approximately when was it that you separated and began proceedings for divorce?
Probably 2017, I'm thinking maybe.
And at that time, when was your divorce actually finalized?
Maybe it was 2016. I think the divorce was 2017, I believe.
And after your divorce, what was your custody arrangement with your son that you had in common with the defendant?
She was supposed to have him on Mondays and Tuesdays. I would have him Wednesday, Thursdays, and then we'd alternate Friday through Sundays every other week.
So 1 week you would have 5 days with your son, and another week she would have 5 days with him.
Correct.
And was this still the same custody arrangement in February of 2020?
Yes.
And in February of 2020, did you have, do you recall the events that occurred, I guess, first on the late evening of February 23rd, 2020?
On that evening?
Yes.
Well, apparently Sarah called me at one point during the night.
Do you recall about what time she called you?
I think it was 11 something.
When you answered the phone, how did Sarah sound on the phone?
She sounded like she had been drinking and was pretty drunk.
were you able to understand what the defendant was saying?
Somewhat, but she woke me up. I had work the next day. I was asleep when she called. She's done this before, calling me late at night, and generally I kind of just try to ignore it, so I wasn't really paying attention.
Who was she living with at the time?
Jorge Torres.
When she called you late that evening, could you hear George in the background at all?
Not that I remember, no.
Did you pay much attention to this phone call?
No.
Now, the following morning, on February 24th, 2020, did you begin to call the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And approximately what time did you begin to call the defendant?
I think it was like 11 o'clock or something.
And why was it that you were calling her?
Well, it was going to be Monday. I had him on Sunday and dropped him off at school, and I was calling to try to find out if she was going to be actually picking him up that day.
Why would you have a question about whether or not she was picking him up?
She wasn't generally very good about actually getting him on the day she was supposed to.
So it was not uncommon for you to have to remind her to pick him up or to make sure that she was going to pick him up?
Well, I mean, remind or just find out if she was going to, or if she was just going to give him over to me as what happened.
Do you remember at what time on February 24th you actually got in touch with the defendant?
I think it was like 12:30 or something.
And when you actually got in touch with her, what did she tell you on the phone?
That George was dead and if I would come over.
Did she say what happened to him?
I don't remember if she told me then on the phone or when I got there, but she told me they had been playing hide and seek and that she fell asleep.
What did you advise her to do?
I told her she needed to call 911 and that I would come over as soon as I could.
And this is on your first phone call here at approximately 12:30.
Yes.
On 2/24/2020.
Yes.
Did she call you again while you were en route to her residence?
She did. She called to find out if I was still going to be coming over.
And when you spoke with her while you were en route, what, if anything, did you advise her?
I told her she needed to call 911 and told her I was on my way, but she needed to get somebody over there.
How long did it take you to arrive at her residence?
From the first phone call or?
Yes, from the first phone.
Well, I mean, I live a minute or two drive away, but I had to get my puppy. We had just gotten a puppy recently. I had to get him in his crate and stuff like that and put something on because I was working from home and, total time, maybe 10 minutes.
When you arrived at her apartment, tell us what she told you when you arrived.
George was dead, and once again, I don't remember if she told me now or before that they had been playing hide and seek and she fell asleep. But I, at that time, told her again she needed to get 911 called to get somebody over there.
Had she called 911 at this point?
No, she had not.
So you've advised her now 3 times to call 911.
Yes.
Did you go inside of her apartment?
I walked in the front door into the little tiled area, like entranceway thing.
What, if anything, did you observe when you made it to that point?
Looking into the living room, I could see like the end of his feet and maybe a little bit of some legs that were kind of coming out around the backside of the kitchen area.
Did you continue to go into the apartment?
No.
Where did you go?
Sarah told me she was going to call 911 and go outside and have a cigarette and a drink and asked me to come out there with her. And I told her that I didn't really feel comfortable being inside. And I went out front and got in my car and waited for people to show up.
Did you witness the defendant call 911?
I think I was in there when she dialed it and first got somebody on the phone, but I wasn't there for the whole conversation. No, I was outside.
Did you stay there at the scene while police arrived?
Yes, I was there. I was part of it. I knew I'd have to talk to somebody, so.
Did you talk with law enforcement?
I did.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Judge, we want to reserve our questions for when we call in our case.
Okay. All right, sir. You're subject to recall.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members of the jury, we'd appreciate your patience for a few moments while the state attaches a Bluetooth speaker so that they may publish some evidence that's been received so far. Mr. J, whenever you're ready, sir.
Permission to publish 3.
You may do so.
It's 300 minutes. Call on Monday, February 24th, 2020.
911, what is the location of your emergency? 4748 Branch Court, apartment 3. 4748, what's the street name? Branch, Frantd. And the apartment number? 3. Is this a police or medical? My boyfriend is dead. Okay, send a line for the fire department. Do not hang up. That's good. No, please don't leave. 4748 France Lane, apartment 3, France Court. France Court. Yes.
Okay, is this near Mackenzie Drive?
I don't know where that is.
Okay, okay.
It's still with Park Apartment.
Okay, 4748 France, correct?
Correct.
All right, correct. Now tell me exactly what happened there.
My boyfriend and I were playing last night, and my cousin in the case when we were playing, and like kind of hide and seek kind of thing. So I fell asleep, and I woke up, and he was dead in the suitcase. So I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
Right. Okay. What's your apartment number?
3.
Apartment 3.
Yes, like he had like blood coming out of his mouth, and I don't know, like he had like an aneurysm on what happened.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. This is beginning of 15. All right. Okay. Okay.
Now?
Okay. 40. Yeah, man. This is we're on our way up there. You're at 407-716-8684. Okay. You hanging from somewhere or what, man?
No, I pulled him out of the suitcase. I tried giving him CPR.
Okay. So he was in a suitcase?
Yes, and I fell asleep.
Okay. How old is the person now? 42-year-old man. All right. Okay. We're setting up on the sheriff's office right there.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Listen to me. Okay. That you need to confirm this one. No, right. I just need to confirm it. Is he awake at all? Is he conscious at all?
No, he's purple.
Is he breathing?
No.
All right. I need you to get him on the floor, on his back for you, okay?
I did. I tried giving him CPR.
All right.
I tried giving him CPR.
Yeah, okay.
No, nothing happened. He's purple.
Okay, listen, me. This is the first letter available. I need you to get it for me, okay?
What is it?
Do you have the available?
No.
All right. Do you write by him now?
I'm sorry?
Are you right by him now?
Yes.
Okay. Listen. Okay, ma'am, listen. So is he cold and stiff?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he's not necessarily really cold, but he's good. And
Right, okay. All right, listen to me. Listen to me. I want you to lay flat and back for me on the floor.
I did.
Removing the pillows, okay?
Yes, I did.
All right, okay. When,
He's dead and purple.
right, okay, listen. Okay, man, that's fine. We're still going to put compression to him, okay? All right? If you look your hand on his breastbone, right in center of the chest, right between the nipples.
Yes.
Put your hand up on that hand.
Betty, I'm telling you. If I lay down, I can tell.
Okay.
Please, okay, you're girl.
Okay, listen to me. All right, I want you to place the heel of your hand. Okay, right between his chest, right between his breastbones.
Yes.
Put your other hand up on that hand.
Yes.
We want to pump his chest to be hard and fast. Going to do twice per second.
I'm doing it again.
Okay, no, just keep on pumping. That's all you need to do for me. Keep on pumping his chest for me. I don't need you to stop and talk or anything. I just want you to count out loud for me, okay?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This is nice to me.
Okay, man, just keep on pumping his chest. That's all you need to do for me, okay?
Yes. Come on, please, hurry up.
Okay, ma'am, they're driving here as fast as they can. Okay, don't stop to say hurry up. Just keep on pumping and counting.
I'm still doing it while I'm talking to you, okay?
Okay.
Still doing it.
All right, just keep pumping his chest. Count out, I'll take a count with you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Please hurry.
Okay, man, they're getting here as fast as they can, okay?
He's dead and he's purple.
Okay, begin pumping his chest for me, ma'am.
I'm still doing it, okay? Still doing it. Don't make me contact.
Right, okay, that's fine. You did a good job. Just keep on doing it for me. All right, they're getting here as fast as they can, along with the sheriff's office also, okay?
Please.
Keep on pumping, man. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep on pumping for me, man.
I'm doing it. Believe me, I'm doing it, okay? We're gonna play hide and seek.
All right, I understand. All right, just keep on pumping for me, okay? Okay.
Please hurry.
Right, okay.
Horrible. This is horrific. What happened? Like, what happened?
Okay, man, keep on pumping the chest for me, okay? They're in the parking lot. They should be up there shortly, okay?
I'm still doing it, okay?
All right, okay, good. And you found them in a suitcase, you said?
Yes. We were playing hide and seek last night. I fell asleep. I think they're here.
All right, just keep on pumping the chest until they take over, okay?
I am.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Come in. Can I stop coming out?
Let that take over for you, okay?
When was the last time anybody saw him? Last night. We were playing hide and seek. He hit the move. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, he's been down too long to have this recording. Hello, ma'am.
And so we're there, obviously.
Yes, no, my boyfriend. Is your boyfriend? Okay. Is your little? No, not that. Hello?
Okay, ma'am. The backline's gonna take care of you now, okay? Yeah, so we'll see you there.
All right. Oh, ma'am, still there? Hello? Calling back 407-716-8684, reference to mobile data. 1308.
Call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 4.
We're ready to continue with the presentation of witnesses.
Yes, sir. You may call your next witness. Sir, good afternoon. Could you state and spell your name for the record for us?
Abraham, Abraham. Last name is Morano, Morano.
Thank you, sir. You may be seated. Mr. Cacciatore, you may inquire.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Tell us, what do you do for a living?
I'm a maintenance supervisor for apartment complexes.
Is that what your position was back in February of 2020?
Yes, it was.
And what apartment complex?
Tealwood Park Apartments.
And how long did you work for Tealwood Park Apartments?
About 2 years.
And tell us, what were some of your duties in your position there with Tealwood Park?
Daily, I cleaned the grounds, walked the property, answered maintenance calls, did emergencies, dealt with vendors.
Did you become familiar with the residents there at the apartment complex?
Yes.
Did you have occasion to meet the defendant in this case and also a Jorge Torres?
Yes.
Let me turn your attention to February 24th of 2020. Do you recall that date?
Yes.
And on that date, did you have occasion to come in contact with the defendant in this case?
Yes, I did.
And tell us, what was the circumstances in which you came into contact with her on February 24th, 2020?
I was called by the manager and the assistant manager to come to her unit. I believe she was already sitting outside at that time.
And when she was sitting outside of her unit, what, if anything, did you observe about her and about the unit?
The police was there. Her ex-husband was present. She was sitting outside, and that's when she decided she wanted to talk to me and the managers.
And what did she tell you?
She's confused. She's not exactly sure what happened. She pointed out that she recalls that they were playing a game of hide and seek. There was an instance where she was going to teach him a lesson, and then she just doesn't recall anything else until the next morning.
Did she say she fell asleep?
Yes, she did.
Did she say things got out of hand?
I don't really recall that part, but I do recall her stating that they were playing their game and that George went into a suitcase, and I didn't ask any questions. I just let her talk for herself.
How long was this conversation?
For about 4 or 5 minutes.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
Any cross-examination?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
This conversation that you had with Miss Boone,
yes,
that took place on the 24th. Is that correct?
Yes.
And who else was present on the time that the conversation was taking place?
Standing right next to me would have been Melissa Sexton and Eugene Harris, as well as the officer who was in front of the door.
Okay. So there was a law enforcement officer there that day, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, on the 24th is when you said that Miss Boone made this statement to you. Is that correct?
Yes.
They were playing hide and seek?
Yes.
And what else did she say happened?
She had told me that they were playing hide and seek. They had drank. She was trying to teach him a lesson, and that was that. She went upstairs. She went to sleep. She woke up. She doesn't know what happened.
Okay. So that was on the 24th?
Yes.
All right. On the 26th, were you not interviewed by law enforcement?
Yes.
Okay. So
I may have my days wrong, but it all happened on the same day.
All right, the 24th, do you remember 2 days later that a Detective Scott Lowen conducted an interview with you at 4704 Lucia Court, Winter Park, Florida? You remember that interview?
Yes.
So that was 2 days later, is that correct?
I would assume so.
Yes. All right, so when he interviewed you 2 days later, did you tell him about this statement that Ms. Boone made to you that you just told this jury in court?
I did mention it to him.
You did mention it to him? Okay.
I mentioned to them that we did have a conversation.
Did you tell him the content of the conversation?
I may not have told him the whole content, but I did tell him we had a conversation.
All right. Well, what did you tell him? What content did you tell him on the 26th?
That they were playing hide and seek, that she was confused, she doesn't know what happened. I do believe I did mention to him the fact that she had said that she was trying to teach him a lesson. Not that anything was done with malice. I didn't state that at all.
Okay. So it's your recollection now today that on the 26th, you told Officer Lowen what you just told this jury. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. Sir. In preparing for this case, did you have a meeting with the Assistant State Attorney on September 23rd of 2024?
Did I have a meeting?
Yes.
A brief chit chat over the phone.
A brief chit chat that was over the phone?
Yes, sir.
All right. At that point in time over the phone, did you tell him that Sarah Boone, the defendant, stated that she was teaching him a lesson and things got out of hand and that she fell asleep?
Yes.
Is that what you told him?
Yes.
Okay. And that was in 2024 of September the 23rd of this year, 2024.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you telling us that back on February the 26th of 2020, you told Officer Lowen at that time the same thing?
As I recall, yes.
So did she ever tell you how things got out of hand?
No.
Sir, you testified that you knew both Mr. Torres and Miss Boone, is that correct?
Yes.
You actually knew Jorge Torres from a different time, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
When did you first know Jorge Torres?
In the 1990s.
In the 1990s?
He was a teenager and he lived down the street from me and my wife.
So you had had a previous relationship with Mr. Torres?
No, not at all.
Not at all. You just knew him from then?
Yes, as I stated, he was a teenager and I was an adult.
Okay. During this time, though, that you became reacquainted with him, did y'all establish a friendship at that time here in Orlando?
I wouldn't say a friendship, but an acquaintance, yes.
Okay. Sir, on Monday, February the 24th, that would have been the day that you were with Miss Sexton and Gene Harris.
Yes.
Out in front of the apartment.
Correct.
Did you talk to law enforcement that day?
No.
You did not talk to them that day?
I don't recall talking to him that day, no.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I don't have any, if I can confer.
You can, sir.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any further questions.
Any redirect examination?
Just brief.
All right, thank you.
Back in the 90s, when you had previously known Jorge Torres in this case, where were you living at that time?
I lived across the street. I lived on one block. He lived the next block over down in the middle.
In what city?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay. And when did you move from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania?
2018, I believe.
So in the intervening years from your move from Philadelphia to coming to work at Tealwood Park, did you have any contact with Jorge Torres?
No, as a matter of fact, I moved from that particular block in 2005, so I don't meet Judge again until I work at Tealwood's.
When did you start working at Tealwood's?
2018, 2019, roughly there.
No further questions.
Can this witness be released?
No, Your Honor, just subject to recall.
All right, sir. You'll be released subject to recall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kayla Rodriguez. Kayla, Kayla. Rodriguez, Rodriguez.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cacciatore, you may inquire.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi.
Can you tell us who is that you work for?
Orange County Sheriff's Office.
And what is your position with the Orange County Sheriff's Office?
Deputy Sheriff.
And how long have you been a deputy sheriff?
A little over 8 years, since 2016.
And tell us, what are your duties as a deputy sheriff?
As a deputy, I respond to calls for service, anything from a over with call, like a car being keyed the day prior, or a 911 emergency.
And what type of training do you need to be a deputy sheriff?
So for me, I obtained my bachelor's degree from UCF in criminal justice in 2014. After that, in 2016, I was hired by the sheriff's office. Right after being hired, I went straight into the academy. The academy is 5 months of training. We go over everything from case law, scenarios, defensive tactics, physical training. After that, I do 2 more months with the sheriff's office where we go specifically into policy related to Orange County specifically. After that, I do 3 months on the road with a trainer where we are evaluated periodically through that process. You have a partner. You respond to calls for service during that time, and you slowly learn how to handle calls by yourself.
Do you also undergo continuing training as a condition of your employment?
Yes.
Tell us, were you working on February 24th, 2020?
Yes.
And tell us, what area of the county were you working in?
Orange County, unincorporated Orange County.
And did you receive a call in regards to this case?
Yes.
And what was that call? What information did you have at the time you received the call?
So the dispatcher informed me that a woman called 911. She was actively performing CPR and that her boyfriend was in a suitcase.
And did you respond out to the scene?
Yes.
And when you responded out to the scene, were you dressed similarly as you are dressed today?
Yes.
And just for the record, you have, it looks like a standard green uniform on with a tool belt, your firearm, and also radio, body-worn camera, badge.
Yes.
Tell us about your body-worn camera.
So my body camera is used to capture scenes when we arrive. So as we are conducting any sort of a law enforcement action, we turn our camera on.
When you turn your camera on, tell us, does it immediately capture sound at that point?
It does not. When we activate our camera, it goes back a minute, and the minute that it goes back to, you don't hear any audio for that first minute.
Tell us also about the capacity and the battery life of your camera as well.
So the battery will last us an entire shift typically if it's in a buffering mode. So if we're not recording, it will last the entire shift. As we record, it does drain the battery. So typically we will turn it off if we're sitting in our car for an extended period of time. If we call our supervisor, if we're talking to another deputy on the side, away from a scene, we will not have the camera recording. If it recorded throughout the entire shift, the battery would die. We would need multiple batteries.
So you actually activate the camera in order to begin recording?
Correct.
Was your body camera operational on this call out?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness what's been previously marked for identification as states H, I, and G that have been shown to defense?
You may.
Ma'am, I'm first showing you what's been marked for identification as states I. You recognize that disc.
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to review that disc prior to coming to court today?
Yes.
And tell us, what is that disc?
Body worn camera from the day of the incident.
From February 24, 2020?
Correct.
And is that your initials on the disc?
Yes.
And does that disc fairly and accurately represent the contents of your body worn camera?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification as states I into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection.
All right, what was pre-marked as I will be received into evidence without objection as states 4.
Ma'am, next I'm showing you has been marked for identification as states H. Can you take a look at that disc? Tell us, what is that disc?
Body worn camera from the day of the incident.
From February 24th, 2020?
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to review that disc prior to coming to court today?
Yes.
And is that your initials on the disc?
Yes.
And does that disc fairly and accurately represent the contents of that portion of your body worn camera from that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to move what's been marked for identification as states H into evidence.
No objection to any of those coming in.
All right, what was pre-marked as states H will be received without objection as states 5.
And lastly, ma'am, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as states G. Do you recognize this disc?
Yes.
And tell us, what is that disc?
Body worn camera from the day of the incident.
From February 24th, 2020?
Yes.
And you had an opportunity to review this camera prior to coming to court?
Yes.
And is that your initials on the disc?
Yes.
And it fairly and accurately represents your conduct on the body worn camera?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to move what's been marked for identification as states G into evidence.
No objection.
Thank you. What was pre-marked as states G will be received without objection as state 6.
Your Honor, request permission to publish states 4.
You may.
Your Honor, may we dim the lights and review the overhead projection?
Yes.
Hello there. Hi. You live here? Okay, I'll talk to you guys, get some information. That's my, the property manager, I don't know if I should go tell him really quick, or so he knows what's going on? Where's he at? He wants that in. Oh, don't worry about that, we'll take care of that for you, okay? Can I go, I had a cigarette, Lou. I'll get it for you, okay, wait 1 second, okay? I really need something to drink. Okay, well, I got my dog parked on the counter. Okay, we'll take care of you, 1 second. At the time, yeah, that you called it? Yeah, whatever. Is that the time you called it? Okay, perfect. County 220. 220, go ahead. 707 at 1307. No, can I have my doctor cut off, please? You can't go back inside. What's going on? Who is he to you? Boyfriend? Yes, because of like 3.5 years. What happened? He and I, we drank last night and had a Can you pass this to the, around to the FBI stuff? They need to sign that for sure. They're with me. Oh, they're not even, okay. No. Each of them has to, because this might be a real thing. So each of them has to put their name. Normally I just put everybody.
Yeah, you call real quick.
What's going on? I just got here to fill me in. No problem. Like, you know, we're putting a puzzle together, we've been doing some artwork together. You were putting a puzzle together? Yes, we have a puzzle that we started in there. Okay. We've been doing art, trying to take stuff off the wall to make new art put up there, like having a good time with one another. But we were drinking, we had a bottle of wine last night. Okay. So then it's like, we decided to play hide and seek, right? Okay. So he gets in the suitcase, okay? Who is that? That's my ex-husband, my former husband. How did he live here with you guys? No, I told him over here. Okay. I didn't know what to do. Okay. I didn't know what to do. Okay. So then he came over here. Here, let's talk inside it, okay? I called you guys. I tried to get the problem is, I fell asleep. When did you do CPR? This morning. When I found it. Before you called? Yeah. 1 o'clock right now. I tried. I was awake, but I actually got out of the bed at like 12:30ish, whatever. So I came downstairs, and I was like, oh, I tried doing CPR and then I called him and then I called you guys.
Did he get here before the fire department got here?
Who?
Your husband or your
Yes.
ex-husband?
Yes.
Okay. Where'd you live at?
Right on the street.
Okay. So you were playing and who did come up and?
I did, but then I fell asleep.
Okay, no, you're okay. I wasn't here. I'm just trying to figure out what
I
happened.
fell asleep, so I don't know if he's suffocated or like had an aneurysm or a heart attack or
What
what.
kind of medical conditions did he have?
None that I know of.
Nothing that you know of.
None
You
that I
didn't
know
take
of.
any medicine?
No.
Okay.
All we had was a bottle of wine. Literally, just a bottle of wine.
Okay.
Doing puzzles, artwork. Then we decided to go hide and seek. That's all that happened.
Okay.
But I really never had a attack or what in there. Like, I don't know what happened.
So how long were you doing CPR on him prior to you calling 911? You tried that all morning?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I called him while I was
What
doing
time
CPR.
did you start? Probably, you know, what ballpark? Here, let me fill this deputy in, okay?
Please, may I have my Dr. Pepper? I am still cutting out right now.
Ma'am, and you can't talk to him until we get down with paper, okay?
Just don't leave, okay, Brian?
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I feel lucid.
I know.
Do me a favor. Stand over there by that car. Give me 1 second. There's a dog in there?
Yeah.
You want to help clear the back bedrooms real quick? Just make sure there's nobody else in here?
Was he here by himself?
Nope, he was here with the girlfriend, and that's the girlfriend's ex-husband. He was gonna sleep it. They were planning on to go sleep is what she said. She's been doing CPR on him all morning before calling us. Yep. So I'm gonna go ahead and start making phone calls.
Okay, go ahead.
What do I do with this dog? Because I don't want him to mess with him. Come here. Oh, perfect. Okay. Yes. Hey, come on, let's go outside. Come on. Come on.
Good boy.
What's wrong, Cutie?
Thank you, Dr. Pepper.
I'm sure it's empty, but just want to make sure.
Thank
I put my glove on. Touch anything.
Orange County.
Yes, Doctor. Good over here. Let me check this closet. So garage. There's the garage.
I guess we're gonna have to set up a crime scene now.
Oh, yeah.
What's that? Sheriff, what, Sheriff, Charlotte? Fuck, Sheriff, what, she's like, I got that.
Just give us a second, okay?
Somebody else come in, call the break, and
It's on the counter. I can't move anything from out of the house. Look here, I want you to sit down, because I don't want you to pass it out. This is probably a lot for you to deal with, right? Water. I can get you some water, okay? Just, I want you not on your feet, because I don't want you passing out.
I need to find water.
Okay, I'll get some for you.
Keep trying, but on it.
Your Honor, request permission to publish States 5.
You may proceed.
Let's go ahead and start making the calls. Ma'am, could you go ahead and give me his last name, Torres? Spell it for me. Torres. And his first name?
George, Jorge.
Jorge. Jorge. His birthday?
2/13/78.
And this is the boyfriend?
Yes.
How long?
3.5 years.
Living together that whole time?
Yes.
Okay. And your last name?
Boone.
Spell it.
Boone.
First name? Sarah?
Sarah.
Birth date?
10/10/77.
So, you've had a second to kind of collect yourself. Tell it to me again. You guys were playing last night, drinking a bottle of wine.
Putting messages together, doing artwork.
Puzzles, artwork.
We got a bottle of wine and then decided to play hide and seek.
Mm-hmm.
So he
What
gets
time was that? Do you remember?
I mean, I know that I was in bed probably by like what, 12:30? Okay. Well, I went upstairs at least, and I fell asleep, forgetting that he was in the
You guys were
suitcase.
playing the hide and go seek.
Yes.
And at some point you put him in the suitcase?
No, he got in the suitcase. So he thought it'd be funny to be put in the suitcase. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna joke with you and I'll zip you up and make him, squirm a little bit, whatever it is. But then I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
Where was the suitcase?
Right where it is.
Right down there?
Yes.
You zipped him in there?
Yes.
Thought it would be funny a little bit?
It was. We both were laughing about it. And then I fell asleep.
Where did you fall asleep at?
Upstairs.
In your bedroom?
Yes.
Okay.
Totally forgetting that he was in the suitcase still.
Okay. And then you came back downstairs?
This morning, or this afternoon, yes, when I got up.
What time?
12:30-ish. I was awake, but I totally forgot that he was in the suitcase. He can tell you there's a lot of things that we can go jobs.
Yeah, he did tell me.
Right, all that good stuff. So I just totally forgot.
So you began to do CPR on him?
Yes. Yes.
About
And he
what
gurgled.
time this morning did you
Gurgled.
start doing that CPR?
No, it was the afternoon. It was afternoon because I was awake. But then I finally decided to come downstairs at like 12:30-ish, whatever it is. And I was like, I forgot he was in the suitcase. And he wasn't moving. Nothing was happening. So I unzipped it, took him out and started doing CPR on him. He was on his way up here. I called you when he got here.
Once he got here, you called us?
Yes.
Okay.
And air was coming out and he was gurgling, but I could just tell by looking at him.
But you knew how to do CPR, you were doing that on your own?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the person that was on the phone with me also, I counted with him doing.
And he's got no medical, he doesn't take any medication?
I don't know. I don't know medical wise. I know he doesn't take any medications whatsoever.
Okay.
The only thing, like I said, I don't know if alcohol had to do with it, but we had a bottle of wine.
Okay, all right. Here, I want you to sit back down because I don't want
Can I
you.
have one more sip of water?
Yes, go ahead.
Denver, 29 residential, audible, 1303 Island Drive.
I'll do what I can to get you a cup because I don't want you to have to keep doing that.
The statement should have a proper cancel medication for front door. Right to that first one, The motor unit on the channel has.
The cups are like right there.
Here, 44 in the motor unit.
Sit right here, don't talk to the ex-husband right
Oh,
now.
I won't. Can I have a cigarette, please?
Ma'am, I can't take anything out of the house.
It's on the back porch.
Nope, all of it, secure, okay? I'll try my best to get you what you need, okay? Maybe one of these deputies has a pack from someone, sit down and I'll try and get you what you need, okay?
Just a cup, please.
Okay. I don't want you on your feet. Yes, you put him outside. He came back in? So there's no fence then? Corporal asked me to give you a rundown? She's, sitting on the curb, I told her to sit down. I was getting ready to call you guys. Yeah. Wanna talk over here?
Your Honor, request permission to publish State 6.
You may do so.
Hey, Sarah. You get enough water? No, if you want to stay seated, I don't want you getting lightheaded. So remember I said the detectives were going to come out and talk to you and go from there. You know what I'm saying? They're here. They're going to ask you a few questions and then go from there, okay? All right.
All right, Sarah, my name is Chelsea. My partner Scott. It's my understanding you reside here? Okay. Is it just you? Okay. Your former husband. Okay. But you reside here with George, and then your son lives with you, or lives? There's 50-50.
Yeah.
Okay. So from what has told me, she explained last night that you guys were drinking a bottle of wine, and around midnight, you decided you guys. Okay. You guys decided to play hide and seek.
Well, we were playing hide and seek, and then.
Was your son home at the time, or okay?
No, with Brian.
Okay.
So decided to play, we just did it like that, like, sure. We were putting puzzles together, we were doing artwork. You can see the puzzle that we finished in there, and then the artwork, and then decided to play hide and seek, just being stupid.
Okay.
So he decided to get in the suitcase. So I thought it would be funny to, and he was laughing about it too, to dip him up in there. I go upstairs and fell asleep. So this morning when I, or this afternoon when I actually got up out of the bed, I thought for sure he was downstairs on the laptop really quiet. But then I came upstairs and I'm like, where is he? Like, and that's when I found it.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Okay. And then you weren't sure about if you woke up this morning
It was afternoon. I mean, I was
or this afternoon.
but I just didn't want to come downstairs. So
Okay.
I just laid in the bed for a little while. And then I eventually came downstairs, confused about where he was. And then I was like, oh my God, he's in the suitcase still. So I pulled him out and I stretched him out and I started to try to make CPR on him. I called you guys. Well, I called Brian.
Okay.
And then as soon as he got here, which is 30 seconds down the road, I called you guys.
Okay.
The person on the phone had me do the concussions continually, so I can count with him until you guys shut up.
Okay. And so as part of our investigation, we obviously have to go inside the house. We have to look at things. Are you okay with us going in the house and looking at things?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And forensics, so we have to have our forensics crime scene investigators come out. Are you also okay with them coming inside, taking photographs and? Okay. Okay.
Can I ask, is Brian, sorry, George, was he diagnosed with any kind of medical history?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't take drugs. I mean, we'll have the occasional bottle of wine here and there, but I don't know, like.
Well, that would be my next question. So you guys don't normally drink, you just drink once in a while, or?
Well, I'm gonna say, like, okay, I guess normal drinking is, like, we will have, like, a glass of wine or two, like, while we're cooking dinner, or something here, and we'll play a board game with him, we'll play from there. But, I mean, it's not like.
A couple of beers a day?
I don't understand though, like, for the little bit that we had, like, not having anything to do with it. Like, I don't know if they had a heart attack or a stroke or an aneurysm or what happened to them. I don't know.
So were you guys together all day yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Here?
Yes.
Like neither of you left the apartment yesterday?
I drove up to the beach store to get cigarettes.
Okay.
But I mean, you can walk there.
Does he have any history of using drugs? I know he doesn't now, he just said he doesn't, but.
I don't know.
As far as you've ever known him, you've never seen him?
No. I mean, he's from Philadelphia, and he grew up in Philadelphia, and then he went to Massachusetts, and then from Massachusetts he came down here. So I don't really know, like, a whole lot of, like, medical history or.
How long have you guys been together?
Almost 4 years, like 3.5 years.
You guys been living here the whole time?
Yes.
Okay. You've never been to the doctor or to the hospital during that time?
He and his brother got into a really bad argument at one point. He had had facial reconstruction, but he has been in the hospital from that. And then I talked him into going to see, like, a regular physician so he could get just like a regular, like, checkup thing. Yeah. But there were no red flags.
How long ago was that?
The surgery or the doctor?
Both.
The surgery, I think, was at this point, what, 2 years maybe? 2.5 years. The checkup was probably a good 2 years too.
Okay.
And the suitcase is still in there?
Yep, always.
Is it normally stored down there, or did you guys travel recently?
No, he was going to start picking some of the, what do you call it? Donation in there, so that's why
it's out?
Yes.
Okay, you guys didn't recently travel somewhere or anything like that?
After you zipped them up, did you move the bag around and mess with them at all, or you just zipped it up and walked away and
laughed? We were laughing about it, but I went upstairs and I fell asleep.
Okay. But what position was he in when you went in? Was he sitting on his rear end and his head up and he just kind of bent over?
Okay, so like this is the suitcase. Like this is his head and then his feet right here and his feet were down.
So he was laying on his side?
Yes. Yes.
You just closed the flap and zipped it around?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we were playing.
I understand this, okay.
So he said that I needed to tell you guys about his family. Like, who do I talk to about that?
We're gonna do that once we walk through and see. Yeah, we're gonna.
I'm just telling you, like,
Yeah, it's gonna be a
I'm
while.
afraid for my life. I want you to know that. I'm afraid for my life. His family has never liked me. I'm the blue-eyed white devil, is what they call me. So they've never liked me. They've never taken me in. They've never accepted me. I'll put it that way.
Have you called any of them?
We talked to his daughters yesterday.
No, I mean, like, about this. Does anyone know? Okay. So no one's gonna know until we will be making that notification. So
They're going to kill me.
Okay,
Do they live local?
Yes, they're down the road. They're going to kill me. His kids are going to kill me in Philadelphia. They're going to kill me. This was not intentional.
Okay.
And they're not going to understand that. They're not going to accept it.
We're gonna do a thorough investigation, and we will definitely make sure that you don't feel scared when we leave here. Okay.
And my 9-year-old.
Well, he's at school and he's with your husband.
I know. Well,
ex-husband.
Your husband said that, or your ex-husband said he made arrangements for your gun to be picked up.
Oh, okay, Mom. Okay.
All right, we're going to go inside if that's okay.
Yes, please, but can you guys keep me posted?
Of
So
course.
I know what's going on.
Yes, ma'am.
And don't.
All you have to do is get their attention if you have a question or you need to talk to us. He's standing right there, she'll be right here.
Yeah. Okay, but will you guys tell me, like, so you're telling me, like, you won't call whoever it is without telling me, right? I mean, I have all their phone.
We're not calling. We're not making phone calls. We're actually going to speak to them in person.
Yeah.
We
That'll
are.
be later on.
Okay.
It'll be
You'll know
later.
prior to us making any
I'm
calls.
not gonna be here. They're going to kill me.
Okay.
We'll address all of that, okay, before we leave.
Okay? This was.
Okay? Okay.
Thank you.
Just stay seated, okay, Sarah? I know you're panicking, okay? Just relax. We'll come and talk to you. We'll keep checking on you.
While you were at the scene, did you also make contact with Brian Boone?
Yes,
Did you take a statement from him as well?
I did.
Were all your interactions with the defendant on that day captured on your body-worn camera?
Yes.
I have no additional questions at this time.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
No questions, Judge.
Is this witness released?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're released, not subject to recall, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, good afternoon. Can you state and spell your name for the record for us?
Deputy Jon Martinez, JOHNMARTINEZ.
Thanks, sir. You may be seated. Thank you. You may inquire, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Tell us, who is it that you work for?
Orange County Sheriff's Office,
And what is your position with the Orange County Sheriff's Office?
Deputy Sheriff.
How long have you been with the Orange County Sheriff's Office?
I'm going on my 16th year.
Prior to working for the Orange County Sheriff's Office, do you have any previous law enforcement experience?
I do.
And where was that?
I first started my career with the New York City Police Department,
And how long were you with the New York City Police Department?
about 10 years.
And what was your position with the New York City Police Department?
I was a police officer.
And at the Sheriff's Office, tell us, what are some of your duties as a deputy sheriff?
Respond to calls of service. My primary function is the school resource officer.
And is continuing training a condition of your employment with the Sheriff's Office?
It is.
Tell us, how is it that you became involved in this case?
I was dispatched to this location.
And what was this location?
It was located at 4748 France Lane, apartment number 3.
And is that here in Orange County, Florida?
It is.
And when you responded to that location, who did you first come into contact with?
I came in contact with Miss Sarah Boone.
Do you see Sarah Boone here in court today?
I do.
Could you please point to her and identify an article of clothing she's wearing?
The lady sitting in the middle with the black blazer.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant?
Record will still reflect.
During the time that you were on the scene, did you have a body-worn camera?
I did.
And was that body-worn camera activated?
It was.
Were all your contacts with Ms. Boone recorded on that body-worn camera?
It was.
Were other deputies also on the scene at that time?
Yes.
And was Deputy Rodriguez there?
She was.
So would both of your body-worn cameras both captured some of the same time frames?
Correct, yes.
Did you have an occasion to go inside of the apartment?
I did.
And inside of the apartment, what observations did you make?
When I first entered the apartment, I noticed a Hispanic male laying on his back in looks like a small nook dining area. Later identified Mr. Jorge Torres.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness who's been previously marked for identification as states K and been shown to defense?
You may.
Sir, I'm showing you it's been marked for identification as states K. Do you recognize that disc?
I do.
And tell us, what is that disc?
Is a copy of my body-worn camera.
And does this body-worn camera fairly and accurately depict the a portion of the events that took place on February 24th, 2020?
It does.
And are those your initials on the disc?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification as states K into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection.
What was pre-marked as states K will be received into evidence without objection as state 7.
Your Honor, request permission to publish.
You may. Madam Clerk, can you dim the lights?
They're coming out now. I'll get you somebody, okay? She wants to say something. She wants to talk. Come on.
Don't know anything though, like why or how? So that we will not know the answer to that because we're not. So what's gonna happen? We're gonna go to the prosecutor's office and they'll have what's called an autopsy. Yeah. That'll be first thing tomorrow morning. I'll know a lot, hopefully a lot more tomorrow morning as far as him. But I cannot. There's no way I could say how, why. So just by looking at him, like, why is he purple? That's normal when someone passes away, but then it needs to be returned.
There's a hard stop speeding in both places, so the lowest points in the body. And it was kind of very, so that's called it happens every day.
I'm like really scared. I'm scared to know that.
Look around, you have all these deputies here, so while we're here, nothing's gonna happen. Before we go and make any notifications, you'll have plenty of time to leave or do whatever you need to do, okay? And we can talk about that more in the plan, right? Okay,
about too, like,
We'll have all the answers. We'll have a lot more answers tomorrow after like you said, what you're seeing here is common. This is us coming out.
Protocol.
Yeah, his age, no real medical history that
I know of.
For him to have passed away, we come out.
I know. Yeah.
We come out to an investigation. Medical examiner's office, we send people out, this is what we did. If he was 75 years old and had a history of heart condition, we wouldn't be here.
I don't know what it is.
Exactly, and that's what we're here to find out. We're just here to get the answers. The answers that you want, the answers that the family
I just
want.
really want to see my son. Like, I really need to see my son. I mean, I know I can't go anywhere, but. Right. So, do I just like sit out here and wait for you guys?
If you would, yes, please.
Does anybody else have you to show up, or everybody's here that needs to be here?
My team's here that needs to be here. The medical examiners will show up when we call them, but we're not ready for them yet. So they're going to take him, they're going to take the photos, take him, but that's towards the end of it. And they'll be called well in advance when we're ready for them, but we're not ready for them at this point. So we won't be calling them quite yet. Okay? So like I said, I got to go do some paperwork. They're going to chat with some people, and then we're going to come back and talk to you if you're okay with that. So just give us a little bit more time, like I said, and you go and do that.
So, like, do you guys tell his family, like, today or after tomorrow?
You have to. Unsigned investigation is pretty much complete here. Once we leave here, we will be going to.
But again, we'll know. I'm not going to just go into it without you knowing. You'll know. Talk to you prior to doing anything like that.
But how, I mean, I understand what you guys and how you do it, and, you know, so, but, like, what do you just tell him? What do you tell his parents? Like, what's the reason as to why?
We tell them what we know at that point.
Yeah.
We tell them the truth.
And that we're going to be waiting for the autopsy results, and I will be at the autopsy in the morning, and hopefully the doctor will be able to give me some of what they think and see.
We'll give them their number, they can contact them and get it, you know.
So yeah, they're gonna know what we're here, what we're investigating, and that we're still.
They're gonna think I killed him.
Why would they?
They always have said that. They've always have said that.
What have they
I
said?
told you, it's because I'm the blue-eyed white dragon. That's what they call me. Because they don't want him with me. So he's basically just not really been around his family because he chooses me over them. Even after I encouraged him numerous times to go there and see his family. Never accepted me. Especially his sister. He had to pull her off me one time.
Do you have somewhere safe that you can go tonight?
Both my parents are deceased, my grandparents are deceased, my aunt and uncle are deceased. I got nobody. I have a brother that's in the Marine, and then I've got another one that's in jail.
Unless you find that's Marine local?
No. Well, he in Altamont, but I think he's doing whatever Marine he's doing. But the only way.
Your phone's inside, correct?
Yes.
Does he have a phone?
No.
He does not.
He used my phone.
He uses your phone.
Yeah, the sheriff phone. So the only place I could go is over to Brian's house. So I don't think I'll have a problem with it. So,
well, like I said, we're not going to leave here. If you do not feel safe, you're not going to leave here if you're not feeling safe. And then we're like,
and then I'm in Philadelphia.
well, she's in Philadelphia, yes.
There's gonna be a funeral.
Right. That you're talking like days and months. No, I'm talking right here, right now. So let me do my investigation. Let me go do this paperwork that I'm talking about, because we can go back and forth about what ifs like all day long.
I know. So
I promise we're not going to leave here for you and you not feel safe. Okay?
Please. I don't even know what to tell you.
It's okay. Just take a seat, have some water, give us a few minutes, let us do our thing, and we'll be back to talk to you, I promise, okay?
Like you said, you need us again, let them know.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Go ahead, Frank.
Okay.
Sit down and wait. Just like eyes on. You have anyone in there?
There's nobody here, just me.
Okay, that's fine. You're right there, right?
Yeah.
Sit there and take your one. I have relief coming, so just wait there.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
No, sir.
Can this witness be released?
Yes, Sean.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. You're released, not subject to recall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, good afternoon. Can you state and spell your name for the record for us?
Melissa Roughgarden, MELISSA ROUGHGARDEN.
Thank you. Counselor, you may inquire.
Ma'am, who do you work for?
I'm employed with the Orange County Sheriff's Office.
What is your position with the Orange County Sheriff's Office?
Currently, I am a forensic biologist with the forensics unit. Prior to this, I was a crime scene investigator for 5 years.
And how long in total have you been with the Orange County Sheriff's Office?
About 6.5 years.
And tell us all the positions you've held during that time.
Those two, a crime scene investigator and a forensic biologist.
Let's turn to your work as a crime scene investigator. What does a crime scene investigator do?
We respond to crime scenes. We photograph and document those crime scenes through photographs, notes, and sometimes sketches. We collect evidence, we process the scene, and then we do further processing to the evidence back at our forensics lab.
When you say process the evidence or process the scene, can you tell us what that entails?
It depends on the scene and the evidence, but it includes the photographs. We also take swabs for potential DNA. We can also do testing for possible blood and things like that. We also process for latent fingerprints, among other things.
What type of training did you need in order to become a crime scene investigator?
Upon being hired with the sheriff's office, as a CSI, I completed a 16-week training program, which includes in-house processing, as well as going out to crime scenes with trained crime scene investigators to observe and then assist, as well as taking on calls with the trained crime scene investigator.
Approximately how many crime scenes have you processed in the course of your time as a CSI?
It would be hundreds. I don't know the exact amount.
Were you working in this capacity as a CSI on February 24th, 2020?
Yes, I was.
And tell us, where did you respond out to on that day?
I responded to 4748 France Court, Apartment 3.
And is that in Orange County, Florida?
Yes, it is.
And when you responded to that scene, whom did you make contact with?
I made contact with the homicide detective, Chelsea Kepsel.
Did you receive information from the detective?
Yes, that it was a death investigation.
Did you walk the scene with the detective?
Yes.
And tell us, what does it mean to walk the scene with the detective in a homicide?
We go into the scene and just observe. We don't interact with anything and discuss what we see.
When you walked this scene, did you see Jorge Torres?
Yes, I did.
And where was he located?
He was located on the floor in the living room of the apartment.
Did you, with the detective, identify potential items of evidence to be collected?
Yes.
You had mentioned previously about documenting scenes with photographs. Was that done in this case?
Yes, it was.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness who's been marked for identification as States M and been shown to defense?
May.
Ma'am, I'm showing you who's been marked for identification as States M. Can you take a look at the contents of State M to yourself and tell me if you recognize the items contained within States M?
Yes.
You recognize the contents of State M.
Yes, I do.
Tell us, what is the contents of State M?
They are photographs I took on the crime scene.
Do they fairly and accurately represent how that crime scene appeared on February 24th, 2020?
Yes, they do.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification, the State's M, into evidence.
How many photographs are there? Do you have a total?
111.
No objection.
All right. What was pre-marked as states M will be received into evidence without objection as states 8.
Your Honor, request permission to publish.
You may?
Your Honor, could we have the lights dim?
Yes.
And I'm first going to publish as part of State's M, picture photo number 4. Tell us, what is this?
This is the front door to the residence.
State's 5.
This is also the front door of the residence, just a closer image to the door.
When you enter the residence, what is the first area just off to the right of the front door?
That would be the kitchen.
Showing you it's been marked as State's 11.
Yes, so this is just inside the door. To the right, there is the kitchen area.
Showing you from State's composite, photo 19.
Yes.
What is this?
This is a hutch inside the kitchen. You can see in the background, that is where that first photo of the kitchen was taken. So that's the entryway. And then this is the hutch, and there is a cell phone on the hutch in the kitchen.
Showing you State's 22.
This is the trash can in the kitchen. You can also see the hutch we were just looking at there on the side.
State's 23.
This is the contents of the trash can. You can see 2 wine bottles on the top of the trash.
Did you also find receipts in that trash can as well?
Yes,
Photo 25 from the composite.
these are those same wine bottles and 3 Publix receipts that were removed from the trash can.
Did you take these items and collect them into evidence in this case?
Yes, I did.
Photo 32 from the composite.
Yes, this is just in further into that entryway. You can see the living room.
Photo 35 from the composite.
This is another photo of the living room. You can see the victim located on the floor and a suitcase in the bottom corner of the photograph.
Photo 36.
This is another photograph in the living room. This is that wall we saw in the kitchen there with the opening. You can also see a wooden baseball bat leaning against the wall.
Was that baseball bat collected into evidence in this case?
Yes, it was.
Photo 38.
This is, excuse me. This is also a photograph of the living room, just the other side of the room.
Photo 43 from the composite.
Yes. This photograph was taken in the living room. You can see the stairs leading to the second floor.
Photograph 45.
This is a photograph of the living room just from the other side of the room. You can see the front door in the middle back of the photo.
Photo 49 from the composite.
This is a more close-up photograph of the suitcase.
Photo 50.
This is a photograph of one of the zippers on the suitcase.
Photograph 51.
This is a close-up picture of that same zipper. There is no zipper pull on it. It appeared to be a small wire of some sort, the pink wrapped around the zipper. This is the zipper on the other side of the suitcase.
Photograph 52. States 53 from this composite.
The close-up image of that same zipper. There is also no zipper pull on that one.
Photo 54 from the composite.
This is the contents of the suitcase after just lifting the lid.
Photo 56 from the composite.
More of a close-up image of the items. There were miscellaneous papers and paperwork, some clothing items, and apparent blood inside the suitcase.
What items, what apparent blood was inside the suitcase?
It was observed on the white cap and a necktie, and there was also visible blood just on the interior of the suitcase.
Photo 57 from the composite.
The contents of the suitcase, but you can see the white cap more clearly and the blood observed on it.
58 from the composite.
You can see the necktie with blood. It appeared to be silver multicolored. And then there's also a diazepam syringe in the plastic casing there. It was prescribed to the victim.
Photo 61 from the composite.
That is the miscellaneous papers and paperwork that was removed from the suitcase.
Photo 62 from the composite.
That's the suitcase after all of the items were removed.
Photo 64 from the composite.
Yes, that is what appeared to be some like small pieces of paper that appeared to be soaked with blood.
Is this inside of the suitcase?
Yes.
Photo 65 from the composite.
That is the baseball bat that was leaning against the wall in the living room.
Photo 68 from the composite.
This is back to the stairs to the second floor in the living room.
Photo 69 from the composite.
So it's moving closer to the stairs to the second floor.
Photo 70 from the composite.
Photographing more of the staircase. These are the steps leading to the second floor before I proceed up to the second floor.
This is photo 71 for the record. Photo 72 from the composite.
The upper portion of the stairs leading to the second floor.
How many bedrooms were on the second floor of the unit?
There were 2 bedrooms.
Photo 75 from the composite. What is this?
This is the hallway. You can see a closet in the hallway and then the door to one of the bedrooms.
Does this appear to be a child's room?
Yes, it did.
Photo 79 from the composite.
This is a photograph within the child's bedroom.
Photo 86 from the composite.
This is the door leading to the other bedroom upstairs.
Did this other bedroom also contain a bathroom?
Yes, it did.
Photo 90 from the composite.
This is the bed within that bedroom.
Photo 97 from the composite.
This is the bathroom.
In that master bedroom upstairs?
Yes.
Did you also have an occasion to photograph the defendant?
Yes, I did.
You see the defendant here in court today.
Yes, I do.
Could you please point to them and identify an article of clothing they're wearing?
She is right there with a black blazer and a pink shirt.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant.
Record so reflect.
Showing you photo 98 from the composite.
This is the photograph I took of the defendant.
Why is it that you are photographing the defendant at this point?
I collected her buccal swabs, which is a DNA standard from the inside of the mouth, and it is part of our procedure to photograph that person for identification purposes.
Do you also document the rest of her body as well at that time?
Yes, I did.
Publishing photograph 101 from State's Composite.
This is a photograph of her hands facing upward.
Photograph 102.
This is her right hand facing upward.
Photograph 103.
her left hand facing upward,
Photograph 104.
both of her hands facing downward, so the tops of her hands,
Photograph 105.
this is her right hand facing downward,
Photograph 106.
and her left hand facing downward.
Photograph 107.
This would be of her right arm,
Photograph 108.
her left arm,
Photograph 109.
her right arm with it facing upward,
Photograph 110.
her left arm with her arm facing upward.
During the time you were interacting with the defendant, did she ever indicate to you that she had any injuries?
No.
You had previously testified that you also collected physical items of evidence from the home as well, in this case.
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness what's been marked for identification as State C and been shown to defense?
You may.
Ma'am, I'm assuming it was been marked for identification as State C. Can you take a look at that package for me?
Yes.
Do you recognize that package?
Yes, I do.
And tell us, what is that package?
These are the 2 wine bottles that were collected from the trash can.
Is your name on that package?
Yes, my name is on the Orange County Sheriff's Office evidence label that I filled out, and my initials are on the evidence seal from when I sealed the package.
And it also has your agency case number and the location information for this case.
Yes, that is correct.
Ma'am, could you open the contents of States C and look at it to yourself?
These are the 2 wine bottles that I collected from the trash can.
Are these wine bottles in the same or substantially the same condition as they were at the time that you packaged them on February 24th, 2020?
Yes, the same time I collected them that day.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification as States C into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection.
What was pre-marked as State C will be received into evidence as States 9 without objection.
And Your Honor, request permission to publish.
You may do so.
Did you also have occasion to collect the baseball bat from the living room?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness who's been previously marked for identification as States B and shown to defense?
You may.
Yes.
Do you recognize this item?
Yes, I do. This is the wooden baseball bat I collected from the living room.
Does this item have your name on it?
Yes, it has my name on the Orange County Sheriff's Office evidence label that I filled out, as well as my initials on the evidence seal.
And it also has your initials and your agency case number as well.
Yes, it does.
Ma'am, could you open States B and look at the contents of it to yourself without displaying it to the court?
Yes.
What is contained within States B?
The wooden baseball bat.
And is that bat in the same or substantially the same condition as it was at the time that you collected it on February 24, 2020?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification as States B into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
What was pre-marked as B will be received into evidence as States 10 without objection.
You also had an occasion to collect a suitcase as well in this case.
Yes, I did.
Prior to placing the suitcase into evidence, did you process it?
I took measurements of the suitcase.
What are the measurements of the suitcase?
It was 28 inches in length, 20 inches wide, and 8 7/8 inches deep.
Your Honor, this time may the witness step down from the stand and approach the clerk's area. Ma'am, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as States A. Tell me, do you recognize this item? Tell us, what is this item?
This is the suitcase I collected from the living room.
And how is it that you know that this is the suitcase you collected from the living room?
It has the Orange County Sheriff's Office evidence label that I labeled with the item description. It also contains my name and the agent's case number, and my initials are also on the evidence tape.
Ma'am, at this time, could you open States A and look at the contents of it to yourself?
Yes.
What is inside of States A?
This is the suitcase I collected from the living room.
And does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition as the time that you collected it and placed it into evidence?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to move what's been marked for identification as States A into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection.
What was pre-marked as A will be received into evidence without objection as States 11.
And Your Honor, at this time, I ask for permission to publish States A to the jury.
You may.
How easy is it to operate the zipper that closes the suitcase?
It was a little difficult.
I have no additional questions at this time.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Are you also referred to as a medical examiner investigator as opposed to just crime scene investigator?
No, that is not my title.
Do you do reports that the medical examiner necessarily relies upon in the process of doing the autopsy and additional investigations?
You would have to ask them.
Who makes the decision at the scene as to what items will be photographed and what items will be taken into custody, what items will necessarily be tested or analyzed?
That's a collaborative effort between the crime scene investigator and the lead detective while on scene.
That would be yourself, and who was the lead detective?
The lead detective was Chelsea Kepsel.
Okay. Now, you authored a report in this matter, did you not?
Yes.
And that report was utilized, if you in fact know, by the medical examiner in developing her autopsy report, was it not?
I do not know.
In your report, did you advise the medical or whomever might read your report that in fact the body had been removed from the suitcase by first offenders or first responders?
No, I don't believe so.
And we know that you have the capacity to do DNA analysis, correct?
No, we process DNA or collect swabs for DNA, and then that's submitted to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for conventional DNA analysis.
You did that with a sample from the inside of Sarah Boone's mouth.
Her buccal swabs were submitted to the FDLE.
And who made that decision?
The detective and I.
Who made the decision not to bother to do a DNA analysis on the blood from the items within the suitcase or the suitcase itself?
That was a discussion between the detective and I.
And you chose not to do that?
No, we did not.
You assumed the blood inside the suitcase belonged to Jorge Torres, correct?
There was blood observed in the suitcase.
But you don't know who that belonged to because you didn't bother to analyze it or have it analyzed, correct?
The blood was not tested.
Now, State's Exhibit B, the bat, you took that into evidence. Was that again a collaborative decision by yourself and the lead detective?
Yes.
And what efforts did you make to have the bat analyzed, given the fact that it was apparently evidence?
It was just collected as evidence from the scene.
Did you advise either the lead detective or anybody else involved with this investigation that there may be matters that could be analyzed when analyzing the bat that would help or assist in the investigation of this matter?
It's my job to do the documentation and the collection of evidence.
Well, you said it was a collaborative effort between yourself and the lead detective. So did you participate in that decision?
We chose to collect the bat and put it into evidence.
And so there was a fiber analysis done on the bat to determine whether or not it was used to strike Jorge Torres when he was in the suitcase. Was there not?
Pardon?
In fact, there was not, was it? There was no effort to analyze bat.
I'm going to object. I don't believe the witness had an opportunity to answer the question.
Sustained.
I'm sorry. Please.
Can you repeat the question?
If I can remember it, I will. Do you know that there was any effort made in this particular investigation, the investigation of Sarah Boone, to analyze the bat for fibers?
No, there was not.
And why was that not done?
It was not done.
You indicated that you had some interaction with Ms. Boone, is that correct?
I collected her buccal swabs.
Did you speak with her?
In collecting her buccal swabs, yes.
Did you speak to any other witnesses?
No.
Did you make any determination of other matters that might be of import or evidentiary value when you were going through the house and taking photographs and documenting the interior of the townhouse?
You'll have to be more specific.
Well, how many pictures of the child's bedroom did we see?
Here today,
Yes, ma'am.
we saw the entrance to the bedroom as well as a photograph of the interior of the bedroom.
What was the evidentiary value of that?
It's my job to photograph and document while on scene, so the rooms in the upstairs were photographed and documented.
Did you photograph holes in the wall, possibly made by the victim?
I don't recall photographing holes in the wall, no.
Did you take photographs of items within the house or throughout the house that may have depicted incidents of prior violence?
You'll have to be more specific.
How about bloody pillowcases? Did you make any effort to collect and analyze pillowcases of the rooms that you were photographing?
No.
Who made this? You have significant experience with zippers?
I use zippers regularly, yes.
Enough to have an opinion as to whether or not a zipper is stuck or not.
Is what? Sorry?
You testified on direct that the zipper was a little tight.
Just that it was difficult without the zipper pulls to use the zipper.
And that was your opinion.
Yes, from opening the suitcase here today.
Today, you only tested it today?
Pardon?
You've only today have for the first time tested the ability to pull open the zipper on the suitcase?
No, I'm saying it was difficult today.
A redirect examination.
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, you documented the entirety of the house as you saw it.
Yes.
So every room in the house,
They were all taken overall photographs.
walls in the house.
In the overall photographs, yes, they weren't all individually photographed, no.
And you did not document or note any type of holes in the wall or any type of damage to the walls, anything like that.
Not the walls, no.
Is that something that would have been documented both photographically and also within your report?
Yes.
You also, as we've previously seen in the composite, saw the victim where he was laying in this case, correct?
Yes.
Was the victim, did he have blood on his mouth and on his face?
Yes, he did.
Did he have open wounds on his body?
There was blood coming from his nose and his mouth. There was also some other areas of like defects noted on his body.
You also made contact with the defendant too, as well.
Yes.
Did you note any other wounds or cuts or anything else that was not documented that you haven't testified to?
No.
So no wounds, nothing on her?
Not that I recall, no.
No further questions?
Thank you. Can this witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Rollins, can this witness be released?
Judge, we'd like her to be on call.
Subject to recall, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.